Good morning.
Hello.
Welcome to the Knitting a Good Yarn podcast.
My name is Jackie.
I'm Carmen.
And we're coming to you from Southern Ontario, and this is a fibery, mostly knitty, now spinny, always chaotic, contemplative-y, chatty, long podcast.
Yes.
So,
yes.
If it's your first time with us, get a good drink, get some knitting. Definitely get, one of those like knitting projects where that isn't completely mindless. Like get something that's like mindless, and then also if you have to like split for sleeves or like, I don't know, figure out increases or decreases, also bring one of those, because historically we're here for like hours.
But then they'll miss our intensely wonderful content. Like you won't want to distract yourself with the sleeves.
You and I feel very differently about our content.
Things. You'll want to be taking notes kidding. Do it.
Just get comfy, and maybe you're watching this probably in like 20 installments.
Yes.
But I'm like super aware of the time today. I don't know how you feel about it, but I am super aware of like,
we gotta get it.
Yeah, we gotta get it like done.
There's a few reasons for this. It is another PA day, which is like professional activity day in the schools. So my kids are home. Again, we have this way of just scheduling our podcast and then me figuring out the night before that there's a PA day. And so they're downstairs. So I think maybe that's part of it. We're gonna wanna not keep them there forever. And
we normally podcast on a non-work day. And so today is a work day for me.
For you.
So I'm like, I feel like out of rhythm.
Yes.
Because I'm like,
there's actually other things
that are going to happen. And also, we try to stay under 3 hours when we're just talking about knitting.
Yes.
And in front of us is all this spinning stuff.
I know. I think we're just gonna roll, and we're thinking we're gonna put the spinning at the end.
That's what I meant to say.
Right, but we have ideas. Sorry, what you're hearing right now are dogs running after each other. Come on, guys. So we thought we would put the spinning at the end. I can see. Guys, no. We also don't edit, as you can see. If you haven't been with us, we're just the chaos, and we just do it. So we thought we would put the spinning at the end. I could see us possibly going through our knitting and being like, it's too long, spinning can come later, or just throwing in the spinning as it comes, because we really just kind of flow and trust what comes out of our mouths, and we don't plan it, or at least I don't plan it.
What do you think is the completion rate on our plans that we talk about at the beginning of our podcast? I think it's about 30%.
Do you think even that
50?
much?
I was like 1/3 of the time that we say we're going to do things, we actually do things.
We're like, I'll try this on in a second, and then we get distracted, and then I never try the thing on, or we never get to some whips. So it'll just be.
Yeah, it'll just be.
And if you have been with us, you may be like, where are they? Mm-hmm. Because this is different. Mm-hmm. So we thought we would just try a different place in the house. So you can even see there. That's where you would normally be seeing us. But the light is a little bit better. We're right in front of a window. So we thought that might be a bit better and easier to stand up, but it might not be.
Okay, well, I still have organizational brain cells. Everything that we talk about is included in the show notes, which you can find in sort of the description box of the drop-down bar, as well as in our Ravelry group. If you search Knitting a Good Yarn podcast, you can also find the show notes there, which is kind of nice because I realized that you can like search for things inside of that Ravelry group, right? So if there's like something that we mentioned and you don't want to like go all the way back through the episode or whatever, you're just like, oh, what was that? Like Junko Okamoto pattern, you can search like Junko Okamoto, and then it will like pull up the thing. So that's my little, I'll do my best to get the notes in both places. And is that it? It's like where you can find us on social, all that kind of stuff. It's all in the down bar in the description box. So, the last thing is that also do chapters. So that's another way to kind of go back and find the thing that you were wanting to, if like, for example, you put us on like in the car while you were like doing the laundry and you were like, oh, what was the name of that like dyer? We'll also create chapters so that you can go back and like find your way to what it is that you actually want to listen to.
If it's not all of it, because I know you want all of it.
Okay, I'm gonna ask a question.
Why am I being so
I'm gonna ask a
ridiculous?
question. No. When you watch podcasts that have chapters, do you skip forward?
No.
I did it once and I felt so like I'd done like the wrong thing.
Why? Because you missed out on.
Yes.
Well, this is it. That's why I never would.
Like,
because I want.
Like it was like, because I could see in the chapters, I was like, oh my god, they're talking about this pattern that I really want to knit, and so I like skipped forward and like clicked on the chapter, and about like 45 seconds in, and I was like in a cold sweat. I was like, this is so wrong. I can't handle it. I have to do it in order. Like, and then I went all the way back. However, you do you. Like,
Yes.
if you want to skip through our chapters,
we won't be offended.
We won't be offended. But anyhow, maybe we should actually talk about knitting.
I think we should, and I think we should start with this because you walked in and I just didn't say anything because I wanted to have all my reactions right now. Because what is happening here?
Okay, this is gonna be 45 minutes.
All right, here we go.
So maybe I'll stand now and you can like.
This was also our thing. We were like, maybe if we're here, there's more room and you can see a bit better than.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the sheep camp sweater by.
Oh, I want to make that. No wonder.
By Jennifer Berg, who on Instagram goes as her handle is the Native Knitter.
It's so gorgeous.
Thank you.
It is so gorgeous.
Okay, why am I freaking out about this? Why am I freaking out about this sweater? Because it is like now two of my favorite things in one sweater, which is the main color is in Nutiden Yarn, held single-stranded in the colorway Gyllengra.
That's single, hey?
Uh-huh.
Whoa, that's nice and thick.
And the contrast color is my own handspun.
Okay, if you didn't hear that because it was being covered, that was her own handspun, and that's what I was wondering.
Yeah, so this is handspun. Okay, how do you talk about handspun? So this is 100 grams. I actually think I ended up using 100 grams of dyed Masum, M-A-S-H-A-M. Is that how you say it?
Masum, I think.
Masum, which was dyed by Melanie Allaire, who's like maybe one of the reasons why I started spinning colored fiber. Because to this point, most of the fiber that I was interested in, that I was like encountering and interested in, was like breed specific, like natural colors, and then also the fiber I made by Hanne Rimmen. But Melanie's color sense,
oh my god,
is ridiculous.
So moody.
It's moody. It's amazing. I'm gonna actually I'll show. I don't have the braid left, but I will show you what it looked like in the braid. Is that coming out? There's so much
now you have to
reflection.
avoid a window.
I know. Okay, I'm sorry. We're figuring it out. Here we go. Here we go. That's better. Sorry, Carmen. Goodbye, Carmen's face. So it was actually two different colors that, like close tonals, that I spun together into a 2-ply in a somewhat, I don't know if it was like a fractal thing.
Maybe not officially.
Maybe not officially. But I sort of like mixed up the two braids, spun it up, and it was like my first like official spinning project. And the moment that it like was done, I was like, this has to be knit into something.
So smart.
And then so cue, like me frantically trying to find a pattern to fit the like yardage that I had.
And did you worry about the weight of it, or were you fine because it was color work?
It was fun. I was fine because it was color work, and I also knew that I was going to hold it with Nutiden.
Right.
And the choice to do that was twofold, with like me wanting to sort of honor my fiber roots, which is like Nutiden Yarn, which for those of you who don't know, is an unspun yarn produced by a company called Hanne Rimmen out of Sweden, which is like 98% of what's on my needles usually.
If you want more Nutiden info, you could go back.
Yeah,
We talk a lot,
and
especially
lots
at the
of
beginning.
So I knew that it could just meet the gauge of whatever this was.
Right.
It was just a question of like, I knew I wanted to do a garment. I knew I wanted to do color work, and then it was about like finding a pattern that where I had enough of the yardage to do it. I landed here pretty quickly because this is a pattern that like has been in my queue and I've like wanted to knit forever and ever. And so I decided to like buy the pattern and take a look at it. And then when I read the like little blurb, which I'm gonna read for you guys, for what the inspiration was, I was like, I need to make this work. Like my first sort of like fancy hand spun like color with a like braid with like color play needs to be this. And so the pattern designer writes, I often think about when my grandmother used to herd sheep and how peaceful her life was. So the motif on the sweater has arrows that draw inward like a deep inhale and at the same time pull outward like a long, slow exhale. My hope for all of you as we come out of this long season, as you wear your sheep camp sweater, remind yourself to take your time to slow down and breathe. And I was like, okay.
There we go.
Like,
it's perfect.
It's perfect. And it just sort of speaks to what spinning has started to feel like for me. It definitely didn't feel that way at the very beginning. Oh man. I mean, I loved it, but it was not a slow inhale and a deeper exhale. Yes. But I feel like I am landing at the point where I was like, I can take out the precious braid now and I can try and spin it. And this is what I ended up with.
It's absolutely perfect. It is so beautiful. And the texture of it, like it looks like it was, you spun it for that particular weight. Like it's perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I tried to spin it as skinny as I possibly could, which for those of you who are spinners, or even just like knitters, Masum is like a magical fiber.
Yeah.
I mean, it has all the properties that I love, which is like basically drapey, and then you add luster, and then you add this like deep saturated color, which
and it was a gray Masum, I think.
It was a gray Masum, gray base. I was like putting it on. I was like, I feel a little bit out of season. My husband was like, you look like a Christmas bauble. And I was like, oh, well, that's wonderful.
Except I think Christmas, I think fall.
It is very fall.
I love fall.
Yes, this pattern is like so fun to knit. It's a round yoke, as you can see. Round yoke. And the increases, there's like a bunch of increases until about here, and then you're knitting straight. And so you can see the pattern super geometric. Like, so you, for a period of time, you are having to pay attention in terms of increases, and then you just like, I chucked the motif and it just goes, and suddenly a whole yoke is done.
And is it about DK weight? Like,
yes, the pattern is sort of DK weight. I knit it pretty close to the pattern specifications. So this is pretty crop for me, but I feel like the proportion works.
It's beautiful.
And
I like
the 3/4 sleeve, I've never knit 3/4 sleeves, but again, I just think the proportion works.
It does.
And I love it. It's super light. In terms of quantity of Nutiden, I used 150 grams of Nutiden total for the main color. I will say, and bust size is 44, which is like, I don't know, I tend to knit 38 to 44 is kind of my comfortable. And I have to say that I made some mistakes in terms of, I think I increased more than I needed to because I cast on for a size 2 and I ended up definitely not with a size 2. I don't know what size I ended up with. So I think I like went over a little overzealous on the increases. But I love it.
Yes.
I feel like I am dream knitting a million other versions. Every like braid of hand spun or of every braid of like, you know, combed top that is dyed, I just see it as another sheep camp sweater. I'm just like, oh, another one. I'm gonna have one. But it is just so stunning in my opinion.
It's absolutely. Okay, so let me ask you, because these colors are not what we would normally expect from you, right? And they are absolutely, in my mind, they're absolute perfection. Like, it's genius to use the gold base. So did this just come together for you? And you were like, yes, like how did you get from
the braid to this?
Yeah, to the braid to this, and like not going just to your like comfort neutral, like a, you know, like a light gray. You could have gone that way. So
I
why?
could have. You know what? It didn't even cross my mind. I think for me, in this particular project, I just wanted to highlight the like Melanie's artistry with the colors. And so I just sort of, like, I think she's named one of the colorways Yuletide Magic. Like, she's also spun it and on her grid, which is also so gorgeous. Beautiful. Like, whether you're a spinner or not, if you love color, if you want to be inspired, just like go to her grid and you will be like, oh, the color work, which is gonna be my life. She had called it Yuletide Magic, and so I think I was just like in her sphere of like, what is this color? Yeah. And you know what's funny? I don't think of this color as out of my comfort zone.
It's not.
Like, it feels like a neutral
on its own.
Like, I love camel, and I know this isn't camel, but I feel like this is the camel family, and I've knit in this color or this color family in Nutiden like a ton. So I don't think it felt like a stretch to me. It's interesting because you're absolutely right. It on its own would be still in that neutral, in my opinion, like a neutral zone. But the combo, to me, it's pretty bold.
Is quite bold, and like everything in my heart is saying, that's mine. You're giving it to me because obviously this is me. So I'm just curious about how that process.
I mean, I will say actually, when I like knit it and I was done the yoke, I like put it on and realized like I bungled something in terms of the numbers, because it shouldn't, like, I checked my gauge and all that kind of stuff, and it really should not have been as wide as it was. And I just thought to myself, damn, that's a whole lot of yoke. Like, that is a whole lot of yoke. And I like put it on and I was like, ooh, like, can I pull this off? And then once I added this, it just seemed to be okay.
It's beautiful. And so you didn't decrease them. You just went
with
it. And you said,
I just went with it. I was like, it's supposed to be this way. It is this way. So I just went with it. What I will say, actually, now that I'm like talking about gauge, I never remember these things until we actually start talking about them, is that my stitch gauge was correct, but my row gauge was not. And so I do wonder actually whether the yoke is deeper.
Because it's bigger?
Because my row gauge was bigger. And whether that's why I was able to follow the pattern suggestion, which is to have a really cropped body and it not like be like really, really cropped. Because I think
is this like 8 inches or so?
Less than
7?
That. It's 7. It's 7 from the sleeve separation. I think in the pattern, it might have been a little bit shorter. I followed the number of rows rather than the actual pattern schematic, but I was also like trying it on as I went. But yeah, I love it. I do think it's like maybe a little bit outside of like my usual aesthetic, but at the same time, I feel like there's enough of it that feels like me.
It's
but
so
I do feel like I am wearing a costume. Not like wearing, like I feel like it's like I'm not gonna throw this on to like go in the garden. And like a lot of my knits, I just like throw on to like go in the garden, or like
I feel like that would be the perfect one to throw in the garden.
But this is what I was gonna say. The like weight of this is perfect. Like, it is a transitional piece. Like, we're in transitional season. I don't know if it's transitional season. It feels like winter again. But we're in sprinter. We're like firmly in sprinter, which is like you wait.
Is that a thing? Or did you just make that up?
I think I read it somewhere. I didn't like make it up.
So funny. I love that.
It's sprinter, which is like the blooms are out, blossoms are out, magnolias are out, the cherry trees just popped.
But it's
daffodils are out, tulips are not. But sometimes it's 1 degree. Like today it's like 4. So like it's a bit cool today to be wearing this, but in like the 10 degrees Celsius zone, I'm like, this is great. And I will just do it in the fall.
Right.
So
and for the rest of right now.
And for the rest of right now. Even though I don't match nature, I'm like, I don't care.
It's like, I feel like it's yes, it has sort of a fall feel, but it doesn't have like an overwhelming I don't know.
I'm not
it's
covered in
red
reindeers.
and, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And sparkles.
I definitely did not
Which
think,
I thought about.
think Christmas at all.
Oh, thank you. It's funny how we get that stuck in our head, though. I think, like, because Melanie called it Yuletide Magic, my husband said that first he said, oh, you look like a turkey. And I obviously made a horrible face. And then he was like, edit, you look like a Christmas ball.
In what universe did his comment, you look like a turkey, work? Like, what, how could that ever not be offensive in any season, in any context? I cannot.
I mean, I was like, after he said the Christmas bauble thing, we had a little conversation in which he was like trying to walk it back. And he's like, because it's like orange and it's like Thanksgiving. And it just like made me think of like cozy turkey things. And my husband loves turkey and he loves stuffing. He loves Thanksgiving dinner. So I'm like, I'll take it.
You look like a bird carcass. Well done, honey. You're like, you're a turkey.
I made the face that made him very quickly walk it back.
That's fantastic.
Anyhow, I love it. I can talk about it forever.
Oh my God.
I just watched. There will be, if anybody new here, I knit the same sweater like 2 to 3 times.
Yeah.
It's my way. Now, sometimes I do it because I love the sweater. Actually, every single time I do it because I love the sweater. But many times that I do it, it's because I love the sweater and I want to modify it so that I can so that it like is perfect for my body.
Yes.
Right? Like not to enhance or like make the pattern better, but to make the pattern
work for me.
So I'll knit a second one, or I'll make the pattern sort of in a different aesthetic, like a different color for like a different feeling, because I love the pattern so much. And this one is one where I'm like, are there modifications to be made? I don't know if there are modifications to be made.
It's perfect.
This one is a roll. It's like a rolled collar. So you knit stockinette and then it sort of like rolls itself back down. When I was about here in the yoke, I was like really not sure about it. I was like, I'm used to, or I've been in a mood of like mock necks and like higher necks. But as much as I think it could be gorgeous to do a rib or to do like a higher neckline, I'm like, I don't know that I would do it here. I think it's just
perfect. It's just so beautiful with this like, motif right here again with that kind of necklacey feel.
Yeah.
Like I think it's really pretty, but it's also not so wide that you end up with like, strap showing. Like sometimes that is why I don't love a wide neck because of like what I wear underneath it. Yeah. But this one, it's just perfect.
I did make a modification. This was unintentional. So in the pattern, you would normally place the short rows here. Like you'd like do the rolled collar and then you'd start to do a set of short rows. Well, I was so dang excited about the yoke that I forgot to do the short rows. I just went straight to the color work. So I placed the short rows here.
Oh, smart.
To make up for it. And so I do think that it does sit like maybe
lower on
short
that
rows
side.
It would be more like this. Yeah. Which I could actually wear because when you have a drapey fabric, it can sort of sit however you want it to sit.
Totally.
I don't mind it.
It's beautiful.
But that is something to consider. I kind of like actually that you don't have that little extra bit.
The amount. I was watching Andrea Mowry's, like one of her newest. I was trying to catch up with her her podcast, and she was talking about where she puts. Yeah, I'll knit if I want to. Where she puts short rows, and she was saying like with I think it was the Rhinebeck from last year, Alpenglow. She didn't put them up here because of that particular thing. She wanted in that pattern to have it all be equal. Yeah. And I can see that with this too.
So I quite like that. I have placed short rows before, sort of just before sleeve separation. I've also placed them just below the hem. And so it's funny, I think the reason I wear it back is because it makes a bit of a bell that I really like.
Yeah, it's really pretty.
And so maybe the second version, what I would do is I would place short rows here and then an extra set of short rows down here to like make that bell, which I think really helps with a cropped silhouette. Because I mean, I have done a crop before, but this feels like the croppiest crop I've ever done before, and having like the safety of like an extra amount of fabric back here, I think is helpful. And that's probably why I seat it back. So if I wanted my neck to be more covered and I added a couple more short rows in that, I think that would work out for those of you who are like, want to have the higher neck, which I normally do, but it's sometimes, hey. Okay, I went on about that.
Well, no, you should. And do you know that this particular sweater, I have stopped, I think 3 people in the wild and said, what sweater is this? And it's always sheep camp. And I'm like, why have I not knit this yet? Like,
yeah.
And actually one was at Knit City. And it was only after that I realized I stopped one of the spinsters from Spin Cycle. Like one of the girls. And I was like, can I just ask what your sweater is? And she's like, oh, it's sheep camp. I'm like, and this is it, like, is that like Spin Cycle you have in there? She's like, yep.
Yeah, I made that.
Well,
I actually spun that myself. This is my hand spun. This is my like whole company spun.
The way
they started
she
a
reacted
revolution.
was a bit like,
Uh-huh.
I was like, it's gorgeous. And then like, went on my way. And then after I was like, hey.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So I would invite you to look at the hashtag for this or on Instagram or go on the Ravelry project page because there are so many iterations. And now I have another answer to the question that you asked like 10 minutes ago, which is like, how did I end up with this color combination? I knew like when I looked at the pattern, it was so beautiful in its boldness.
It is, yeah. The
that I
original
was
is
like,
also gorgeous.
Because the original is in this like mint with like a
like orange, wasn't it? Or
it's
no,
like black or like it's like high level of saturation. Mm-hmm. And so I just knew like this is the pattern for that. However, when I knit my second version, I want to flip it. So that the motif is in a light color and the backdrop is in a dark color. And I also have this harebrained idea of flipping the whole thing and seeing if I can do a fade, like a gradient fade in the main color out of Handspun.
Yes.
And then to do the motif in a like
neutral single.
In a neutral single. What's the other word for flat? Because every time I say flat, like I don't mean flat in a bad way, like a flat, like a color that doesn't have a lot of variation in it.
Right. Like tonal would have a variation, but yes, just a straight
just
color.
Like a straight color.
There is, I don't have my phone, but there is a sweater that was made by, I think her name's Valentina something, I can't remember, but it was she had used Spin Cycle as the MC.
Yeah.
Color, and then white for the, and it was absolutely just glorious. And this was a couple years ago and I was like, well, I can never like afford that much Spin Cycle, but now I can spin something similar to Spin Cycle.
Yeah.
So it's possible.
So sheep camp sweater, get ready. You're going to see this a million times.
Hopefully on me.
Do you want to try it on?
I do want to try it on.
Okay.
Yes.
Just
Just gonna do her little, I was gonna start my next thing, but I think I should put this one on before and then
Before we forget.
Yes.
Okay, but I'm putting on another finished object, so.
Oh. We can go right into that.
No, we're gonna do you and then we're gonna do me.
Okay.
Because.
Oh, it's so light. Woo! See, you're gonna sit. Oh, guys. Sorry.
Lily, you're okay.
Sorry. I love how Lily defends a house that's not even hers.
Oh yeah,
She's like, oh yeah, I'll take care of this. Okay. Oh, sorry, but the white t-shirt, that's not the perfect. You're not getting this back jacket.
Oh my gosh, and it looks so good with the
dress?
like little dress.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Okay, this is like last episode when
Yes,
you
when
were
you
like
tried on
when
my-
you knit a beautiful colorwork sweater and then I tried it on and like you were both excited and crestfallen at the same time because you were like,
That looks so much
oh
better.
my god,
on
it looks so much better on you. I'm having that exact moment.
I think I need to make exactly this. Like, or you have to just give it to me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's possible.
Oh my god. It's absolutely glorious. And so many things that I don't usually, so usually I don't like, and actually with what I'm going to show, you'll see I don't like a lot of stuff underneath, but in this case.
Okay, I think you have to have it.
I know, I'm sorry, I do.
Melanie, will you dye more of this so that I can knit myself in again?
Oh my god. Jackie, I just love it.
God. Do you have this? Do you have?
I do. I have this, and this was the Massam. I did do it. Oh, I did a 3-ply with my Massam. Anyway. Oh my god. I have to give it back to you, but I need this. I need it. Oh my gosh. Well, this is good. This is good time. Okay, now everybody's watching. We're like, yeah, we've seen this sweater. Like, so now don't spend another like 20 minutes just like looking at it again. But I'm like, oh my God.
Like, okay. I thought it was beautiful, but on you, now it's like so much more beautiful.
Well, now you know how I feel, Jackie. This happens all the time. I make something and I love it, and then she puts it on, and I'm like, oh, well, just keep it.
Well, really.
Oh my
we
God.
can do trades, and we should one day. We keep
we
talking
should,
about this, like,
we don't have to keep them. We could just like,
true.
You know,
swap back and forth. I will say, actually, I'm sorry, I cannot talk about a project for 10 minutes. Okay, I'm just gonna do something. So I just want to show. Actually, you can take it off, or you can keep it on, and I can just talk about it. But people are. So I think that there's a lot of like, can you knit with Nutiden single-stranded, and how hard is it to knit with Nutiden single-stranded? And I've always been a proponent of like, your hands will figure it out. It's okay. And if you go back to episode 0.75, there's a whole section where we talk about our second episode where we talk about like how we each individually work with Nutiden single-stranded. But I just want to be like fully transparent. I want to show you what it looks like on the inside.
Yes.
So like you can see here from all the little teeny tiny ends that I'm not gonna, that just start to felt together with wear into the fabric, that like I am breaking it off, that it's not like one continuous strand in the way that I was like totally confused when I was working with the Handspun. I was like, what is this feeling? What is this feeling?
I'm attached to this ball the whole time.
So, but like I don't spit splice. And
just overlap, right?
What I will say about knitting with Nutiden single-stranded is like this stockinette section, I knit while reading a book or while I was just like listening to an audiobook. Like I didn't knit this eyes off, because the nature of Nutiden is in its unspunness is that it's not like applied spun yarn where the thickness is exactly the same, right? So you can even see here, it's totally like you can knit with a single-stranded, but you'll see that certain sections are a little bit thinner. And so I would have eyes on, and a lot of these little ends is where I noticed that it got a little bit thinner. And although it would have been structurally sound, I wanted it to, I overlapped it so that it felt a little bit more even. So, you know, you choose how you want to knit, and with single-stranded Nutiden, I think that Nutiden asks us to be mindful and present with our knitting. And so it's not like literally mindless. I don't have to look. I'm gonna do it in the car, in the dark, at a movie theater. I probably, like, I've not reached that level with Nutiden. And so it's something to keep in mind, but I really enjoyed it. Like I feel like I was doing the stockinette whilst like admiring the Handspun, and just being like, oh my God, I love you so much.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's so perfect.
Yeah.
It's a perfect sweater.
Okay.
I'm just going to, I feel like we knocked
Did we knock it?
I don't know.
There we go.
Just trying to help everybody who likes things to be really perfect. And, oh, sorry, bud. I have, my allergies are acting up, so if it looks like I'm about to sneeze all the time, I am. So, okay. This is a good transition because what you said about knitting a sweater again to correct the things that didn't work. I just knit a sweater that, in my opinion, now we can have comments, but like, I just put it on for the first time this morning after blocking it, and I'm like, I don't think so. I don't think so. But I could consider how I would change it. So maybe I would knit it again, but I'll put it on. We'll discuss. All right. Well, first of all, I'll tell you what it is. Okay, first of all, this was my, I know. This was my, you can see the color. Brittany from Crux Fibers. Disclaimer, we don't get any kickbacks. We pay normal, we're regular customers. We love Brittany that much, just so you know, we're not like being
we're not sponsored
by her.
We don't get free stuff.
She's
we
just
pay for
that amazing that's why we go on and on about her wool. She had bought, I think it wasn't the fleece she bought, I think, or it was somebody had some fleece milled, like spun up,
correct.
and from a breed called Clun Forest, which is is it a down breed? I don't know. It's a different kind of breed than what you would normally. It's definitely not merino. It's very thick, and when you like see the actually I have some pictures, maybe I'll post on Instagram, but the skeins, like when you hold it, you know that that something's drapey when you try to hold it and it just goes down. This stayed like, and you could have like played whack-a-mole with this thing, like it so thick. And the ball, I wound the ball, and it was literally, because I showed you girls, it was like this big, huge. So she had an update. She still has some of this, I think, still in the shop, and I was like, I need to try. And she had it in this colorway, rose hip, that as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh my God, I have to knit it. So you can see the color.
It's gorgeous. It's so beautiful.
Okay, the color, I'm still in love. Like, to me, this is the red of all reds.
It is the red of all reds.
Blue undertone, cool. Look at this.
Did you alternate skeins?
I did not, never do. So that's what it ended up with Brittany's magical dyeing.
Oh my God.
Uh-huh. It's very, how would you describe the feeling?
It's really bouncy.
Mm-hmm.
It has a lot of body. I want to say crunchy.
I was going to say crunchy. That's exactly the word I would say.
But like not in a bad way.
Not in a bad way, but
it's
in a
like
particular
dry.
way. Very dry.
It's very dry. It's very, like it's just got body.
It's
like,
got,
I feel like, I don't drink wine, but I'm like, this is a full-bodied
red
fiber. Like, yeah.
It is.
Oh my God, it's so beautiful. Look at these. Look at how the cables look.
Okay.
What is
Stitch
this pattern
definition,
I need
yes.
to
We're going to go and do. Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
The funny thing is, when I blocked it, I really should have put a tube in it, because I realized that the actual motif goes right down where the seam, you know,
line.
where you end up. Is that coming out?
Oh God.
Okay. So what this is the Sew. I'm probably not pronouncing that right.
What is this
SOE. Look at how it goes right into the ribbing down here, and it goes right up into your neck.
Adds to Q.
Adds to Q. So this is from Lina, not now the most recent, so the one right before the one we just had. Let me get the actual person's name.
I know this sweater.
Anna Strandberg.
I know this sweater.
Right? It's so
It's unrecognizable
beautiful.
in this color though.
Well, exactly.
Oh my God.
So, and in this wool, I don't know that this wool was the right. Well, you can see this has a lot more drape to it, and it feels more like mohair. It's almost like mohair. They didn't put mohair with it, but it feels like
it has that like soft drapey quality.
Yeah, this has a lot of structure. Like, as I say, just like the skein would stay straight, like it feels like this wool will just stay exactly where you put it.
It will stay good.
And I'll put it on, and then you'll be able to see, like, well, I mean, maybe. Sometimes I think something doesn't look good and other people like it, but
I mean, it's gorgeous.
it is gorgeous. So, well, before I put it on, you can see it's got like a high-low hem. It's only by 1 inch. So starting with like what I would do next time, I think I'd make the back a little longer. But it's a split hem, and with this cable, and then up the side, you do this little ribbon.
This is not your silhouette though, huh?
Oh yeah, it is not.
This is not your silhouette. Like, I look at it and I'm like, it's the perfect sweater.
Yeah, anyway, let's see.
It's, oh my God, that color on you, Herman.
The color is perfection. The actual look, I don't think so, for me. Okay, I don't know if this is the best angle.
It's beautiful, Carmen.
Thank you.
And I know why you don't like it.
Why do you think I don't like it?
I think the sleeves are too wide.
Yes. Thank you.
And I think that the drop is too, like, there's too much fabric here for you.
You got it completely. And I think that the gathering in for me, it feels a little clown-like to me. I just don't know if it's it doesn't look like that on the model, and I don't think it would in somebody else. And I wonder with a different wool.
What if it were shorter?
That would be better. I think I also would consider like, look at how much,
that's
positive
what I
ease
think
get. Yeah.
You're not happy about.
This is so easy for me to fix. So when I'm talking about like, what would I do? Because I really like this, and knitting it was quite enjoyable because you have, like for me,
saddle
it's a
shoulder. You
it's
love that
exactly.
saddle shoulder.
And look at this detail. Can you see here how it comes around? And it really is quite lovely.
Yeah.
But another one I would change is that I think it's too wide for me. Maybe I would do one size smaller to make this not, see how it's like a little too wide, because I would like it to really go to follow.
Like you want that, yeah, that's right. Like you want that drop part to, because a drop shoulder, the shoulder drops here, and in a raglan, the shoulder sort of seam is here, and you love a raglan. Like you love that close, that tighter seam, if that makes sense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this has just a little too much fabric here. I think I like the length of the.
Do you?
I do, but not with this wool, because, sorry, I've got stuff in my face as usual. It just stands so straight up because it's a wool that is like, where do you want me to be? How you knit me, I will stay.
Yeah.
I'm not going to relax. Like I'm going to just stay completely everything you did. So I think in a different wool, maybe I would keep it the same, maybe slightly lower, like small, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Shorter?
The neckline?
Less?
Yeah.
Whatever
like a
that
short,
is.
like a small, short, like not like a full turtleneck, a mock turtleneck.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's
Maybe
why
a little bit more.
I also felt that way. Like you saw me, I was like, are you happier if we just do this?
Because it's really there. Like it's, and
if you
again,
folded it down right now, like for this sweater, are you gonna rip it out?
I don't know.
Okay.
I actually don't know.
If you
I
folded
feel like
it down.
I'm not going to rip it out.
I like that.
You think that
Look,
makes
I feel like we're Carmenifying it.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I could easily just tack
Oh, I
that
love
down.
it like that.
That
but
looks
that's
better.
me. I love a mock neck.
I do love, yeah, and I like how it actually stands up. I do like that, actually. Thank you, Jackie.
You're welcome.
So that's helping with that. Okay, but see, do you see this?
I think you
That's not me.
like the sleeve size. I think is
Too big.
I think it's too big for you.
For me, exactly. But what an easy mod. Like, that's not hard, right? So,
Is
like,
this knit in the round? Are the sleeves in the round?
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, if it was seamed, then like I feel like you'd do something.
I mean, I really probably could
It's
cut
so
it.
beautiful though, like just this.
The details,
The details
right?
are gorgeous.
It really was beautiful, and like, so you're knitting, and the cables are really enjoyable.
Look how gorgeous they are. They're
Aren't
like
they?
little pea pods.
Oh, they are
Like
little
ferns,
pea
like little
pods.
fern pea pods.
I really enjoyed knitting this.
What's the
And I was
gauge?
very excited. Oh,
I can look at it.
yes, thank you.
It's like a worsted bulky.
It's a DK.
It's a DK.
Yes, it's a DK.
Is that a DK gauge? Am I looking at a DK gauge? No.
I didn't
yours
actually
a
look
DK
at mine.
gauge?
I think the gauge was the same.
Okay, keep talking. Let me look.
I can't remember.
Find it.
Yeah, I think also we talk about silhouettes that we like, and Jackie, you've said that you don't love like stripes because you don't like things to make you look wider. I actually generally like looking wider. I don't know why I like, like shoulders looking wide, but this is too wide for me. Like, I think this extra bulk with the cables I keep wanting to say in this wool, because it's just so grippy and stays itself. I feel like I'm really much wider. But yeah, maybe with skinnier sleeves.
If we did this,
Yeah,
you would be happy.
I think you're right.
Like,
And then
that.
this less,
Yeah.
like cutting that back in a bit. Yeah.
So the gauge is 16 stitches by 29
so that's
rounds for
even
4
more
inches.
worsted,
So
but
it's worsted.
Yeah, but they
Although
call
the
for
sample,
DK.
oh my gosh, the sample is in, I cannot say this, is in a wool
Oh yeah.
that is
Oh, that's the Danish company.
Yeah,
right?
200 meters for 100 grams.
Right.
So it calls for DK weight yarn.
Yeah.
But I wonder, when I look at your row gauge, that doesn't look like a 29 round row gauge.
I never have row gauge. And that's another one.
And so that's part of why I wonder why, like, if this raglan is deeper,
yes,
because your row gauge isn't quite larger than in the pattern.
That is probably the case.
Which I feel like actually we all like. Well, I'll speak for myself. Generally, I look at stitch gauge. I'm like, if I hit stitch gauge, I'm good, because I also can never get row gauge. But I feel like sometimes
you need it. I think
sometimes it matters, right?
Yeah.
And this is where I wonder whether that's also part of it, because looking at the sample, when I look at the sample, the picture of it, I don't think of it as that sleeve, which is my favorite sleeve, right? Like this with that deep yoke,
right?
Like I love a deep yoke,
yes,
thing. And when I looked at the pattern, funnily enough, I was like, that's gorgeous. I love the cables. Like when this came out, and I thought the silhouette's not for me. And then you pulled it out, and I was like, huh, that's my silhouette. What is happening?
Well, you're gonna have to try this one on.
I'm gonna have to try it on. I'm getting distracted.
I think it's probably further
forward.
No, sorry, the other direction.
The other direction.
Oh no, yeah. Anyway, I think I also wanted to talk about this again with, with the intention of not all, like, knitting doesn't always work, and it's like, I think it's really important to talk about that when it doesn't, because I think maybe if we never talk about the things when it doesn't work, it might make you feel like everyone else is making these beautiful things, and what about, whereas I think oftentimes things don't work, or they work, most of the time it works well enough that I'm happy enough to keep it, but I would make another and make some modifications to fix it. So again, this one, I think I would consider still knitting it, because to me, this is me. God. Like, if like that is so me.
Beautiful.
It's so beautiful. And this wool is so beautiful, but this is the second time actually, I think, that I've ended up with like knitting, this is the second sweater I've knit that I'm saying the wool isn't correct for it. The wool is beautiful,
pattern.
But for the thing I'm knitting, and we're getting into these breed studies and things like that, and really thinking about the actual wool has so many varieties if you get outside of merino. But one of the pieces that comes with that is that you have to actually, I have to start to consider more than I did the actual qualities of the wool. Yeah. And then thinking about the pattern that it's designed for. And if this is much more drapey, making something with a lot more structure is not going to end up being what it's supposed to be.
And I think, so I apologize if I don't have this right. I'm like looking at the wool that was used in the pattern, and the wool used in the pattern, I believe, is like a Falkland. There's some it's like a Falkland merino mix, I think. So you have some, something that shows the cable texture, but you also have something that has drape. Because if you were to, because when you got this Clin Forest, when we found out about it, and Brittany like brought it out, I was like, we need it because we both love cables.
Yes.
But then as I was reading about the breed characteristics, I was like, I don't need it because I love cables, but I can't live without drape. Because drape, you know what drape helps with? Fit.
It does help with fit, but I do believe that there is a sweater, and I'm trying to think of what it will be, that would be perfect for this. Like something that's maybe more geometrical and like needs some kind of like one that has maybe that one.
No, that one needs drape.
Yeah, we need the drape on that side, but some kind of thing that like stands up, like a kind of straight across kind of Balmain like look, like might be, I don't know.
I'm still not unconvinced that this is the right wool for the project.
You think?
Yeah.
You think it's just the size?
I think it's the proportion. I think it's a combination of proportion on you.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And I think so for me, I look at this and I think it's gorgeous, but I also am aware that the fit of this is like how is my style. And so I think it's beautiful. Yeah.
I know that you just put your other one on, but I want to see it on you.
Like, I just think, I don't know if people can hear me when I'm like off camera.
Probably.
I just think that, where's the front, where's the back?
Oh yes. It's only an inch difference. Oh, sorry, banging you guys. Yeah, so that's the back.
I think it's so interesting because, you know, like the words that I would use is I would say like that project was a fail, right? Which is probably not the best like verbiage.
See, no, this looks better on you. Yes. That looks much better on you.
Like, I mean, the sleeves are crazy long.
Yes, as usual. And this is like, I think I'm wider here, but because I actually like now, it's making more of a boxy shape for you. It's actually going a little bit further, not following your body, and that's actually quite nice.
It's like a drop.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I knew it, as usual.
Oh my God, but this red makes me like anxious.
Why?
On me.
It looks gorgeous.
Oh my God, I like this. It's like too red. There's too much color, guys. There's too much color. Oh my God. I mean, it's a beautiful red.
Color. It's beautiful. This looks gorgeous on you.
Thank you.
It doesn't look like that on me.
Oh, it feels very nice.
Oh, it looks really nice on you.
Oh, it's so cozy. Oh.
Now, see, I can appreciate, but see, mine look like clowny, but with the longer sleeves, it's not clowny. This looks so much better, Jackie.
I think, see,
you're right.
if
So
it were
scratch
my,
the wool piece, maybe it's fine.
If it were my sweater, or like if like I were you, I'd rip it out.
And do it again. Maybe I will.
No, I
have
would
an
just
extra.
rip this out. I'd rip. Oh yeah, you'd have to rip a lot, but it's like 16 stitches. Like I would.
It was
do
fine.
it again.
Yeah, and it was joyous to knit it. It's
And I think you could fold this down.
Yeah.
Because the color, the cables, the U, it's perfect in my opinion. But what was I gonna say? Okay, so what's another word for? What are we gonna use instead of saying it's a knitting fail? Because I don't like the verbiage knitting fail. It's not a fail. It's just like a whatever. Please tell us.
Hiccup?
A hiccup? This is a hiccup project?
Like
Yeah.
yeah. First draft?
Yeah. It's like it's like a work in progress, but like version
It's
2.
the literal work in progress.
Yeah.
It's still, even when finished, it's still a whip.
But the thing is, that's a thing that we can do with wool is that we can rip it out.
Yes. And this, like Nutiden can be ripped out as well, but I will say it's not as fun to knit. This is one advantage of a spun wool because it's absolutely true. I can knit this out. It's not going to break it. I'll just roll it back into balls and I will do it again.
But, you know, I think there are a lot of things that make us, that contribute to having a project that you like put your like time and your heart and soul in, and then that like crestfallen feeling that happens when you put it on. And I think that it actually is the beauty of our craft, of this craft, of our creativity, is that it really actually is, in my opinion, one of the most profound vehicles for self-expression.
Yeah.
Because you express yourself in the choice of pattern. You express yourself in the choice of like fiber and yarn
and
color, and then you express yourself in terms of like a silhouette or a aesthetic and a style.
Yeah.
And I just feel like this, to me, is actually an absolute stunning sweater that if I, like when you held it up, I was like, the project is perfection.
Yeah.
But we have that crestfallen feeling sometimes because our dream knit isn't the actual knit.
Yes.
And also we like, there's this struggle between what we see and how we like to see ourselves.
Yes. Getting back to what we feel comfortable with as well. And yes.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know. To me, I feel garish in this color. Which again, like, which just, you know,
gorgeous.
Ever since last episode that we went on like a big long rant about like color and like, you know, what are your colors and all that kind of stuff, is like, I have not been able to get out of my head the recognition that like, when you're dream knitting, or when I'm dream knitting, I'm imagining the finished object on my body. Do you do that?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And then that crestfallen feeling is when you like put the object on, and it's not actually about is the object beautiful or not.
Yes.
It's the contrast between like the hours of what you're expecting and what it looks like on your body.
Yes.
And then I was also like, the second sort of layer of contemplation is like, when I'm assessing it, like when I'm assessing its beauty, am I assessing its beauty through like my lens?
Mm-hmm.
Like, am I looking at it through like the more compassionate eyes of how I look at myself? Or am I looking at it through the like more critical eyes of how I look at myself?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I feel like one of the things that's so nice about like having a knitting bestie, and particularly you, is like the eyes that you see the world through are just like, I often say this to Carmen, I just like want to have your brain for 3 days because I think I would experience the world so differently just the way that you see it.
In some ways you don't want to.
Yeah, and it's not so much that like, you know, your way of seeing the world is like better than my way of seeing the world. But what I know for sure is that your way of seeing me is way better.
I think the same would be
That's
the case.
the way that my eyes see me.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so often,
A male person came. They didn't even knock. They just could tell.
Lily, okay.
It's okay. Come here, honey. Good boys.
What was I saying? I don't know. Probably wasn't important.
It was important, but yes, about like seeing things through another person's.
Oh, that I will, that I don't feel like I'm at a point now where our knitting process is so like intertwined that like an object is not finished until you see it, because I can't because I know that I'm not seeing it fully.
Yes. Oh, that's
Like I'm not seeing it from I'm not seeing it from a wide perspective. I'm only able to see it from the narrow perspective of my own eyes and my own life experience. Like, depending on how I'm feeling that day, I'm gonna see it a particular way.
Yeah.
And and I think that this is one of the beautiful things and dangerous things about social media. And one of the beautiful things and dangerous things about like our knitting podcast and like what we put out in the world is like, when you become inspired by somebody's finished object and then you're like, I need it, and you cast it on.
Yeah.
When you're knitting it, what's the image that you're holding in your mind? Like, are you thinking about like the sample? Are you thinking about the person?
How it looked on that
how
person.
It looked on them? Because if you do that, inevitably, when you put it on, you're like setting yourself up to be crestfallen.
That's true. Maybe this is our different too, like, because I'm like, not necessarily, like, it could be wonderfully, like, it could be amazing or even better, possibly. But you're right, like, you've got, like, I think it's holding it lightly, right? Like, so not like having such expectations that it's got to be a specific way. I do think there's a part of me that gets excited by the surprise that will happen. Maybe this is partly why I don't do a lot of trying on before, like, or during. And spinning does this for me too, where it's like, what is it going to end up like? So I think I have less of a like exact plan. I'm almost like, what's it going to be? Yeah. But it definitely wasn't this. Like, I thought it would be more this, and I didn't end up with that. But like we're talking, I think there are ways to fix it that will make it
feel like you.
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing is like, that's the thing I think even with my sheep camp sweater that is like, I feel like you hold this up and it's Carmen's sweater, right?
Yes, it is my sweater.
And it took me some time to like match my mental image of myself with this and get comfortable enough with it that I feel like beautiful in it. You know what I mean?
You're so beautiful in it.
Thank you.
It's gorgeous.
Now, I can't, my current mental image of who I am and this color, it's like.
Which is so funny because when I bought you the poison apple, I always think of you with red. Like, so I'm like, I think you should be in red, personally.
Yeah, we're gonna have a conversation about red later, but I really, like, I actually want to rip this out for you and re-knit it so that you can.
Because you know that there's a good chance I might not do it. Yeah, because you know me.
I think there's a very low likelihood that you're going to do it now. And I think it's important. I think that like sometimes taking a break from something is really helpful.
Yeah.
Because knitting's supposed to, I mean, it's not supposed to be. Well, is it supposed to be? Is it supposed to be enjoyable? Is knitting supposed to be enjoyable?
I think sometimes we knit for the thing we're knitting and we don't love what we're knitting. Like we don't love the process of it. I think that's okay. But I think sometimes it is about the enjoyment.
Yeah. And I think, you know, I often think about my knitting as like there being a spectrum of sort of saying like, do I have a project? Like I think a lot of people think about having projects that are like, okay, there's a mindless project and then there's like a thinking project, right? And I definitely like think about that spectrum of having like balance and harmony. But what I actually more often am thinking about is not that spectrum of like easy versus challenging or like mindless versus like mindful. Cause I just, what I'm thinking about is like comfortable and growth edge.
Ooh, comfortable as in
like
the process of it.
The process
easy enough or feels
like it doesn't need to be mindless or it doesn't need to be simple, but it's like I'm confident about this project.
Yes.
I am not worried about like, is this going to work out for me? Like I don't have those doubts.
Yes.
And it's like in a palette that I'm like, I love this. And I know I know that it's going to feel like me when I put it on.
Yeah.
So there's like that kind of project. And then there's projects that like could potentially, like this to me would be like extreme high challenge project because of the color.
Right.
Because the whole time I would just be like, I don't know, like, is this gonna work? And I'd be like frantically trying to get to the end of it to sort out what's
gonna happen. We will figure this out with the dogs. I don't know.
Okay, guys. It's because we have a neighbor. I think, is Lily still out there?
I think she's probably seeing Wendell, who's our neighbor dog, and they're probably, they're enjoying each other.
There we go. So, you know, like, I sort of invite you guys to think about maybe your knitting practice outside of like, do I want to turn my brain off or do I want to be really engaged in something, and sort of think about like, do I want, is the practice about me, or is my knitting about me, it being enjoyable? Is it about like me relaxing? Is it about
learning something
new?
Yeah.
Like expanding your edges of like creative self-expression. Like for me, this was like expanding my edges of creative self-expression, although it was just like joyous from start to finish. Like there was a like level of me having to like work outside of my comfort zone, even though like the knitting was completely comfortable. Right? Like it's not just about like the project, it's also about like
all the components
of it, right?
Yeah. I like it.
So yeah.
Lovely. Well, and that's good because we'll do your next finished object, but my other finished object had a lot of that challenge component to it, which is where you're actually like, there were times where I was scared of a section coming up, like, which is hilarious because why are you scared? It's just knitting, but like I'd be like, oh, what if it didn't work? And
but I mean, I think there are a lot of we've gotten a lot of comments, and it's 100% true that I am like super analytical about my knitting, but I think for me it's that it's such a big part of my life, and it like takes up so much of my time, and so for me it's about more than creating a product.
Yes.
At this point, definitely when I was a new knitter, it was more product focused, right? Like that was like the spark behind my knitting was like, I want the thing.
Yes.
And the thing is so beautiful and I want that beautiful thing.
Yes.
But I think now I think it can have more meaning than that for me if I take the time to like contemplate around it.
Yeah.
Right? And like, oh my God, that thing is beautiful and I want it and I have to have it on my needles and I'm gonna like, marathon knit it through is also equally valuable, and a contemplation still.
Yeah,
you know, like contemplation doesn't always have to be slow, it doesn't always have to be cognitive, right?
Yes.
So
well, it's intentional. There's intention at least in it.
it's you listening to yourself, right? And I think that's the thing that I realized, that there are some projects that I am so focused on the outcome and so focused on like how beautiful it looked on somebody else that I've lost my connection to myself whilst I'm knitting it.
Aw. We
Lost
don't
it,
want
but,
that.
like,
You're great.
you know, it's
You
not
should
about,
stay.
it's not, I'm not thinking about me. It's not about me
Yeah.
in relationship with the knit or the process in the way that I would like to be in relationship. So
Makes sense. The dogs now want back in. I apologize. It's just another shit show. That's how we roll. Oh, I was just gonna let them in and then they just went and found something else to yell and bark at. Okay.
okay.
Woo!
So
So pretty.
so this is, I don't know if you guys, I don't know if it like comes across that I'm like okay about this. You know, like I'm not as jazzed about this as I am about the sheet camp sweater, which is kind of interesting to me.
That is interesting.
Right?
Things are shifting maybe. I think this is
Although I think I will wear this
Whale tails?
forever.
They're absolutely
You know me.
gorgeous.
Okay, so this is the Oasis Island pullover by Ririko, who on Instagram is Hand Knit Life. I wrote this down. Yeah, Hand Knit Life. Knit in Nutiden, double stranded in the colorway Stila. The bust circumference on this is 40, and it was 269 grams total. So I cast this on a very long time ago. So what you guys are gonna find in the next like couple of episodes is that I have a lot. I will likely have a fair number of finished objects. Not because I am knitting like a fiend and I knit all of this in a period of time, but every spring I get like cast-on-itis and I cast on, like no word of a lie, probably at least 10 projects in like 1 month. Wow. And then of course, there's no way I'm knitting all 10 of those projects. So I cast this on last spring.
Really?
And only now did I sort of bind it off. But you know me. And the reason I cast it on is because of this beautiful motif, which
gorgeous.
Like, you know, if I knit it in Clun Forest, you'd be able to like really see it.
But you can see it a lot better actually in person than is coming up there.
But I cast it on in the spring because I was gonna go swim with the humpbacks in the fall, and so I wanted to have like a humpback sweater, but like not like an Natasja with like 4 humpbacks breaching on the front, although maybe like someday. So that's why I was like, I see whale tails. I don't know if anybody else sees whale tails, but I see whale tails, therefore I must have my whale tail sweater. And so I knit it actually, most of it in the months leading up to going to be with the humpbacks. And then once I was like with the humpbacks, I was like completely uninterested. Should we let them in?
They're barking at something because I don't even know.
No.
I should send them downstairs.
Guys, hey, enough. Come in. All right, that works. All right, if you guys don't settle, you're gonna have to go down to the basement. Okay?
Lily, come here.
Everybody
You
settle
are the
down.
So what I love about this knit, because I do love it. I do love it. And this is one of those knits that I'm like, if I had an Instagram, which I don't, I were to post this on Instagram and I were to post this on Instagram, I guarantee that this is the one that would have more attention, more likes, more like whatever.
Yeah.
But in the end, like 1 year from now, I think I will wear this the same amount, if not more.
Yeah. I think so too. I think so too. It's a beautiful
so like,
neutral.
can we reclaim the like neutral knit? So I love this motif. This particular colorway, Stila, is just one of my favorite colorways. I'll flip up to, what's the best way to do this? Like, again, it's like one of those things, there's stitch markers everywhere. It's one of those things that it has so many different colors in it. When I looked at it, it reminded me of the what the Pacific Ocean looks like when you get deep. Like that's the color of the Pacific in deep water when you're on a whale watching boat on a sunny day, in my opinion. Hence whale tail sweater. Reverse stockinette, guys. It's just like the best texture. And also this particular blend of Nutiden was like very drapey. So if any of you, not that I expect any of you to like knit this project, but if you were to knit this project and you were thinking about amounts for Nutiden, this was like this was a blend of Nutiden that I would not consider knitting single-stranded because it was
this
so
is double.
drapey and like soft, and I think probably in another colorway more would be needed.
Yep.
More would be needed.
Especially in more recent colorways.
But round yoke. I mean, this flew off. This part flew off. And then this part took me 11 months to do. The arms.
The easy part.
The arms are knit straight, and then you do a like decrease for a balloon arm, which I don't like.
Well, they're not very, they were pretty tight to begin with. Like a balloon, you know, sometimes you need a lot wider. There wasn't a lot of negatives to begin with, positives.
But like, I don't know how I feel about this.
I like it. Of course.
And what I will say is, what I actually like the proportion of the arms being super long and the body being a little bit cropped. But like, there's no way who walks around in the world like this? With their sleeves like this, right? Like this, like I noticed in styling that like a lot of like pictures, like with the really long sleeves and the really cropped thing, and was like artfully posed. I'm like, who walks around in the world like this? And so when I put it on and I did this, I'm like, oh, it's perfect. But then I started to like wear it, and I was like, I don't know that I think this like poofiness I'm about, but I will not be ripping this out or changing it, because it's not like that much of a thing for me. And I love the way that it feels.
It is beautiful.
And I love the meaning of it.
It's beautiful.
But I do think I wear a lot of tights. I wear a lot of black jeans. And that's one of the things about this sweater is like, I don't think that it looks as good with a black pant or with like a denim, because it's actually the perfect denim color.
Exactly.
And although we're Canadian.
Canadian tuxedo.
I don't actually like denim on denim. On denim is not like a look for me. Like, I don't even own a jean jacket, which makes me like, which people are like, what? You're Canadian and you don't own a jean jacket? I'm like, I just don't like how they look.
I only wear it with my black jeans though. I won't wear it with like
with your other denim. Like denim on denim just reminds me of Britney Spears and Justin Timberlake in the 90s and how they would do like matching outfits of like denim on denim with the hats.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, so I mean, when I was packing this morning, I was like, oh, I'm really excited about the sheep camp, but I'm not so excited about this one. But now that it's on,
it's really pretty. And it is, you're right. That's the one that you're going to just reach for when you're at home or, you know, or in the garden, right?
Yeah, this one I would like, you know, I'm like going to go on a hike with somebody, or like I have to run an errand, like this I will put on.
Yeah.
And it will get very comfy and cozy. And for me, like, you know, the texture that I want on my body all the time is stockinette. Like, I love how our reverse stockinette, that like really like soft, silky feeling is like on the inside.
That makes sense.
But
and then did you just flip it too? Like when you finished your yoke, did you turn it around and then do it?
So that it's in the pattern. In the pattern, you knit the yoke sort of like right side out.
Yep.
And then in the pattern, she shows you how to flip it out and not get a gap.
Okay.
Where you turn.
Mm-hmm.
So then I knit the rest of it inside out. Although I have been known on this podcast to talk about how much I love stockinette. And I thought I loved stockinette.
Do you not?
I love stockinette when you're not knitting at like a 21 by 30 gauge. When your gauge is 21 stitches by 30 rows.
And goes and goes.
Oh my God. I no longer like stockinette. I was like, actually, and I used to not have a sleeve island problem. Like I used to not. I was like, oh, it's fine. Sleeves are fine. Like this felt like forever.
Yep.
21 by 30.
Yep.
Which is, you know, but I do appreciate like the fabric that's created by not knitting at a bulky gauge.
Yes. I mean, the bulky gauge is also wonderful.
It's delightful.
It's just that there's also delightful things at smaller gauges.
Particularly at this season. Because I think what used to happen is like once it would sort of get above 14 degrees Celsius, I tend to run cold all the time. I can wear some knitwear, but only the like really light drapey like Nutiden things. Or what would happen is I would no longer wear knit garments. I would wear a lot of knit shawls.
Right.
But I'm like, oh my God, if I'm knitting single-stranded at 21 by 30, which even just saying makes me feel sad.
But you like knitting.
But I like knitting. I could knit, I could be wearing knit garments like all through the year, which I want.
I have another prediction coming, that, as I usually do, where I'm predicting that within 3 months, Jackie is in love with smaller needles. I think it's already started.
It's already happened, actually.
So you're just you're just gonna like it. I mean, but you're right. I think that the stockinette, the endless stockinette, I rarely am into. On occasion, if I've just gotten over like a really busy project, and it's just, sometimes I can appreciate that, but generally for me, that just feels like I just want to get through it.
Yeah.
As opposed to
I think I was happy for the first half of the sleeve.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, okay, I must be like done now. And I put it on and I was like, is that my elbow? And there's a whole other sleeve to do. And there's the whole body. And that's why it took so long.
Oh, and you've done the sleeves first.
Yeah, I always do sleeves first.
Oh.
Do you do body first and then
Always.
sleeves? Really?
Yeah.
Okay, because you don't try stuff on.
Yeah, exactly. I don't try stuff on.
Really?
What in the world? There's no one out there, you little darling.
So 2 reasons. One, because I try things on a cajillion times.
Right.
And you don't really know a yoke fit without having sleeves.
True. That red one changed a lot once I got the sleeves.
And if you do the sleeves first, then you have less fabric. Lily, sweetie,
There's no there.
it's a lot today, huh?
It's a lot.
It's a lot today.
We changed locations. Everybody's all like kerfuffle.
Is that when you're like flipping, like you don't have like this whole body on your lap.
Yes, because that's what I liked about the bottom up too, right? Like when you do the sleeves.
Yeah.
You're right. I hate flipping it with all the stuff.
Right, so that's why.
That's a really good point.
What do you guys do?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna try that next time.
So yeah, this is my whale tail sweater. That actually now, so weird. Okay, again, I apparently have a lot to say today that is not related to knitting, but another thing about being in this podcast is that this podcast has made me love knits that I didn't think I loved that much.
Mm-hmm.
Because you knit it. I mean, I put it on and I'll spend like a good couple of minutes like in the mirror, like checking it out. How's the fit? Am I happy with it? And then, the is my shirt on backwards check one before I leave the house.
Yeah.
But I don't spend a lot of time really appreciating how it actually looks.
Yes. Yes.
Because that first 5 minutes of finishing a project and putting it on is just this whole process of me being of me trying to reckon with, does this look A way like me, B the way that I like, and C, to what degree is this looking the way that I thought it was going to look the whole time? And I don't actually take the time to look at it.
Yes. And now you get to just
and then
then
we do it, and then you tell me how it looks, and then I actually see it outside of that expectation wrestle.
So obviously everyone needs a podcast, is what you're saying.
Okay. Actually, man, I have a lot to say today.
I love it.
Sorry.
No, sorry.
Everybody does need a podcast.
I agree.
Okay.
It's so amazing. It's amazing.
Okay. Maybe you don't feel comfortable recording yourself and putting yourself on the internet, which I would never have done unless this beautiful being asked me to, and if she wasn't sitting next to me, I would not be doing this. However, I think what everybody needs, or what I think would be what could expand your life, is putting yourself out there. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Putting yourself out there to other fiber people. Now, how you choose to do that, whether you choose to do that in a podcast, whether you choose to be brave and leave a comment, or be even braver and send somebody a DM. Yeah.
Or a video. So recently the video, Instagram, you can leave a video message.
Yeah.
And that to me is a way of connecting on a whole other level. It's because you get to see the person, and it's more than just the words that they write, and it's
Or the voice note.
And the voice note.
The voice note.
It's so nice.
Put yourself out there.
Yeah. Do it.
It will expand your life.
Yes.
And we did not have a plan or goals when our goal when we sat down for this is 50 people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I'm still kind of like, when I look at the numbers, which I don't really look at, but your son looks at, and other people comment on, and then I'm like aware of the number. Yeah. It just blows my mind.
I know.
But I will say that the number of people that have expanded my craft through like the way that my life and this craft has been expanded through our putting ourselves out there, has, yeah.
There's no words for it, actually.
Words.
Like it. And, you know, I remember people saying things like this, like put yourself out there and all this. And I'd be like, you know, and then like, is it really or whatever? Like, no, it really is. When podcasters are talking about how the community that's been built from their podcast, they mean it. And like, they mean it, because the most beautiful people arrive in your life, you know, and you're like, people you would never meet. You would never, ever meet. There's no way we'd run into each other, right? And it's not, as you say, it's not just podcasting, it's anything. It's just connecting with other people.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think that there is something about putting yourself, just being you know, like, and not thinking through everything that you say, you know, like maybe one thing I think about why the voice notes or the video notes might be a little bit more, they might feel more authentic, or you get to know the person better, because you can sit and slave over a text, like, and you can say, what's the best word, or what, you know, how should I phrase this? And you can do that and be a specific way. But when it's just you, it's really you. And so then that other person gets to be like, I really like this person.
Yeah.
Like, that's them and I like them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, there's the community that you make. There's also the community that's on my needles constantly now, like ever since we're on the podcast. And then there's like, it doesn't have to be a voice note. Like often the comments that you guys leave, like stay with me for like weeks,
Me too.
like months.
I know.
They're beautiful. They're thought provoking. And so like when I say, like podcasters used to be like, and then read the comments, and like sometimes I would and sometimes I wouldn't, and I usually wouldn't because I'm just lazy.
Yeah.
Me too. But like those comments spark so much in my creative process.
Oh yeah.
Like whether I have the opportunity to like individually respond to you or not, just know that like they're so meaningful, and like you're in my knitting now.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And
Totally.
that's the whole, putting yourself out there doesn't need to necessarily mean like go meet somebody for coffee or like a YouTube channel, but just allowing yourself to notice what you love and like what you're attracted to. And if you love something and are attracted to something, like maybe doing the vulnerability of like reaching out to somebody. And, you know, I've definitely inserted myself into DMs and met people who I've had like a wonderful interaction with, who it's just that one interaction and it's really beautiful. Oh, yeah. And then there are people who I like inserted myself into their DMs, and now I'm like constantly in their DMs. I'm sorry and you're welcome. That it's not about Fiverr anymore.
Oh yeah.
Like it started at Fiverr and then it's not about Fiverr and then it goes back to Fiverr.
It's all everything.
So yeah, that's my encouragement. That's our continued encouragement of like, just be you.
Yes.
And also like be you let yourself be you with other people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's how you're gonna find your people, actually.
Totally, exactly. Because
you don't always find your people. Sometimes you be you and it like doesn't go well. And I just want to name that,
but
right?
that's part of finding your people.
Yeah.
Because part of finding things is finding what isn't your people.
Exactly. And it's like if you're not gonna be you and you're not gonna like reach out in that way, then there are people out there who are gonna enrich you and your life that you wouldn't meet otherwise. Because you, thankfully, see, Carmen dropped herself into my DMs and I was like so delighted and I would have never done it.
Aww.
And then look.
I was like, this one's gonna be my friend. I don't know, like I'm making this happen.
I'm talking to all of you who are like, who are more built like me, who are like, who is this gorgeous human being? I want to be her friend, and I'm like terrified to say anything to her. So I'll just keep like silently liking every single one of her photos, but like never say a word until she said a word, and now we haven't stopped talking for
That's right.
Hours.
Yes.
Hours.
How many we got 3 done? We've gotten 3 done.
Not bad.
Look at us.
Not bad. Yeah. What else do you have?
I have one more finished object.
Hi, Pizza.
Pizza, you gonna let me? You gonna let me do it? Oh my God, my previously black dress is white now. If I stand up at all, I'm not sure if I, oh, yep, it's all over. He's worth it, he's worth it. So I did, remember how I say, never doing test knits again, but like I'm gonna take a break on my test knits and I see these things and then like within a day I'm doing another test knit. So it happened again. I test knit. Maybe I'll show, oh no, I didn't do the thing. I have wanted to make, okay, wool everything, right? Like I want my entire body covered in wool in every possible respect. So
Including undergarments?
Including undergarments. So that, yeah, I made a bra. Like it's called the Speedy Racer Back bralette by Céline Phaeton. I might not be pronouncing that, but I think she's at Celine.knits on Instagram. What should I'll start with showing it and then, sorry, Pizza gotta go down and get it. Oh. And then I'll tell you about it. Okay. It's looking a little, this is where I'm like, I don't know if it's gonna go well because you got these weird cups that just sit there with nothing in them.
We need coconuts.
Yeah, maybe you know what, I need to like puff them out with some.
Like we're gonna put skeins of yarn in the cup.
I considered how to show
shaping
this.
is gorgeous.
Isn't it? Okay, because maybe I could just,
You can put it on over your stuff.
let me see. It's actually completely made to your body. Oh, there you go, that's all right. Okay.
How cute is that?
How cute is this? Hey?
Okay, first of all, your outfit is just like peak 90s and it's made me so happy. and I feel like this also was having, like, I've just had again a 90s flashback moment, which makes me happy.
I know, loving it.
Oh my God, it fits so well. The fit, Carmen.
Fits, and actually if I could lift my boobs up into it, because right now there's like a whole dress underneath and it's not there, but
Yeah.
you can see, am I in this shot?
Yeah, you're in the frame, yeah.
Yeah, so you have this racer back bralette. As soon as I saw the, saw her picture.
I just want to pet it. Hi.
Well, do you know why you want to pet it?
What the heck is this?
If you're gonna cuff something right against your skin, what should you have?
Cashmere.
That's what it is. I've had this cashmere sitting for probably like 3 years. It's this company, you've probably seen them because they pop up all over the place, but with like advertisements, but it's called Nordic Yarn. It is it's One Direction. I think it's a Finnish company where the yarn is made in Italy or the reverse. No, because it's not. It's definitely made in Italy. And what it is half virgin cashmere, half recycled cashmere. So they take like cashmere garments and then I guess like pull it all apart, you know, chew it all up and then make it into yarn again. So
they re-spin it. They like break it down. It's not like their waste product from their fabric production.
No, I think.
Interesting.
Okay, it could be that. But I think if I remember correctly, and maybe 3 years ago, I don't know what they're doing now, but 3 years ago, I think it was that they were taking cashmere that had already been made, waste product. Maybe it like, I don't even know, as usual. But anyway, I was gonna make a sweater with this and then didn't, it just sat there. And then when this test came up, I was like, I have cashmere that I can use. I'm gonna try it. So, what would I say? So Céline, there are lots of different, as we all know, I'm a very kind of rabid test knitter. I test knit a lot.
Prolific, talented, amazing, adventurous, rabid.
Rabid. Kind of. So I've test knit for many designers, and it really stands out to me when a designer, like really great designers stand out to me, and Céline is one of them. And the reason I say that is that she is incredibly responsive. And this is actually, if any designers watch, like if you are designers and you have a test knit, these are things that matter, I think, to a test knitter. Like it's on Slack. She's right there all the time. And what was you could see most important to her was that everybody's bralette fit them perfectly. And people have so many different bodies, right? Like we do in every garment we make, but in particular, if you're making something that's going to be right against your skin and it's going to go over bumps and things like that, you want it to fit, and everybody's going to be very different with that. And shaping. So people would say like, this is happening, what should I do? And she changed this pattern so many times because she wants this to be perfect. And she really, I think, nailed it. I won't say too much maybe about the construction just in case, but I will say these are I-cord edges. Mine, just the nature of I-cords, when you're doing them, the one on one side so it's knit, up here was knit flat. So on one side, I think it was knit flat. Gosh, I can't even remember now. The I-cord's tighter on one side than the other, just because of the nature of I-cords and like how you gather them, which I didn't really think about, but is actually the case. So she actually has changed that. She had 8 different possibilities she tried to solve this problem, and we were able to like vote on them, and some people were able to do this like multiple times. And so she's even made it better. So you can see that this is tight, whereas this has more give to it, and the opposite. This is tight and more give here. So on this side, it's a bit tighter under my arm than here. Also,
these are the kinds of things that like you can't see, but you feel. You feel, right?
I'll try to keep talking. Hopefully you can hear me. Anyway, so what do I want to say? This was the project. This was the project that I talked about where I was scared of all these components. So like you start in a certain place, and then I was like, oh no, now I gotta do this shaping. And then I passed the section and was like, that was totally fine. Like, I don't know why I was scared of that. And then I'm like, then I come up here, and then like getting into the cups was something that was stressful for me because of the short rows.
And new. And uncertain.
Well, yes, and yet when I did them, there's nothing new about it. It was completely like everything. And she even goes down by like half cup size. Like it's amazing. And like, and what the difference is between like here to there, and like all this stuff. I can't recommend her more highly. This is also a bralette. I have made other ones. So I've made other bralettes, one or two maybe. But I remember at the time I made them not too tight, so they were not supportive in any way. So what I did with this is that I took a thicker, I think her pattern is for DK, but mine was particularly, like it's a thick DK. And then I dropped the needle size down significantly. So I think it was knit on 2s. Most people's were knit on 2s. Mine was knit on 0 and then 0.0.
Toothpick knit.
Like literally.
Toothpick.
So it was very, very dense. And this is so supportive. Like I wouldn't go for a run in it, but like apart from that, it's absolutely like keeps me in and just feels really good. And it is I think it's quite flattering when you don't have a dress and a t-shirt underneath it. Like,
I think it's cute.
I know, I kind of like it too. Cute. So I found for me, when I was coming along here, that so you can see kind of the short rows here, right? So like it expands that out. But I was finding that this part was coming up a bit. So on my own, Jackie, just modded it and added short rows right in here so that it pulled it down. So you can see,
stars.
Right? So I did them here, and then right when at the end, I was like, I think I'll add just a couple more here, and when I'm actually wearing it, it's a perfect fit. And then, do you feel this?
Oh my God.
I put an elastic in, another part of fearfulness, and I didn't know if I could do it, and Celine's instructions were perfect. It was so easy. It was so easy to do it. And I ended up with this.
It's gorgeous.
Thank you. I really love it. And like you really end up with something that is made for you. It fits really, really nicely. So, and it did not take very long. I'm going to make some more for sure.
I feel like there's such an intimacy around this kind of knit, you know, like, and I could see it as being, like a real self-love project.
It is.
You know?
Like it's because it is literally like right over your heart, right? Like, and it's right here. I've been thinking also just about the actual shaping of it. I find really beautiful.
Yes.
And what's to say you can't just like
well,
keep
this
going
is what like you put it on,
top.
and I was like, I mean, you know, I would love a tank top.
Yeah, I was thinking, I'm gonna make another one, just
and extend like as a bralette or to use
no,
the,
like
use it
sorry,
to make it like a crop
I will make
top,
another.
like a
I will
top.
make more bralettes, and I think I'm gonna
Yeah.
like extend it and see how that works.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to see you do that because knit tanks are something that I think are so beautiful.
Me too.
But I have a lot of trouble like going to a store and finding a tank top that fits me.
Yes.
Like a lot of trouble. And the thought of knitting something is both like on that spectrum, I'm like over here because there is a part of it that's like, I don't know what the fit is going to be.
Yes.
And knit fabric is different from commercial fabric. So I can't even like magic number, which is what I often do.
Yes.
Where I like take something like either a knit that I love or like something that I, like a store-bought thing that I love, and I like figure out like what's the proportions or something that Carmen, like poor Carmen, I'm like, what's the raglan drop on that? Like, what's the circumference? Because I like want that exact fit because these little teeny tiny proportions matter so much.
Yep.
And I just like so appreciate that there are designers out there who it sounds like are thrilled by and like are lovingly honoring how do we learn the skills of like truly knitting for you and knitting for your body.
Yes.
And I think that's how knitting can actually be really transformational in terms of like self-expression or even like knitting has been healing for my own self-image.
Yes.
To create things that feel like you, that fit well, that allow you to like love your body exactly how it is without needing to modify anything.
Exactly. And Celine really takes you through. Like there are a lot of measurements you take, which was also part of my like you know, like I would get like stressed out about the
swatch. Rabid non-swatching tester.
I swatched for this one because I actually was like, I need to make sure the fabric is as dense, because another thing I didn't want was that it would be, it would open,
gaping,
right? Like, or like, you know, just be like see through, but because it's such a dense thing, you can't actually see. So I can wear this, I would be able to wear this without a bra underneath, and it wouldn't be showing things underneath. But yeah, what were you, oh yes, she just has all these different measurements that you, and it seems overwhelming. I was overwhelmed, but when I actually went through it, there was nothing overwhelming. It was so obviously, you just go, you just follow, you look at the measurements, you just do the things she says, and it works out.
And do you measure on, like actually on your body, or do you measure something that like, or do you measure a
No, you measure your
bralette?
body. Yeah, so you're like measuring these different distances with things, and like where your apex is, and all these different like stuff.
Oh, I don't know that I would knit this, but now I want to.
Why wouldn't you?
I think because until this moment did not have the desire to have an undergarment made of wool.
Ah, really?
Yeah. Like it's not that I don't want it. It's just that like, I don't lie awake at night being like, I want a wool bralette in the way that I lie awake at night being like, I want wool everything else.
I want it. Wool everything. Well, you also like we've got a difference in age, and I'm in the phase of nighttime sweats that come out of nowhere, and so I want organic, like I want natural fabric.
Breathable fabric.
I want everything wool. Just get it. Yeah. Anyway,
but looking it on you, and you know what it is. As I like contemplate it, I'm like, I don't think. I think that would be really challenging for me, because I think that it would be impossible for me to knit something that would fit, like something that shaped and intimate that would fit me, because my body is so not sample sized.
I know you say that, but like it's you have a body, like. Well, that's all you need.
But like, things are made with schematics, right? And that's why I'm like, okay, like maybe, right? Because there's just no room for error in this kind of thing. Drapey sweater, there's lots of room for error,
yes,
right?
I see what you mean.
and like just like years of going to a store and just wanting a basic tank top, but like having all kinds of things like falling out, or like if it's tight here, then it's like there, then I'm just like, oh my god, like a like no ease and 00 knit.
Negative ease.
Like negative ease, 00, like that just, but it sounds like Celine has created a pattern that is going to address all of those.
She has
challenges,
she has
right?
so many testers. They're like everything was, you know, and everybody's, you know, yes, I guess there is a sample size. Like
designers work with a schematic, right? Like they
do.
have like, okay, size 2 is like this, and the like the butt, like for a sweater, like the circumference of the sleeve changes at a different rate from the bust. And I don't know actually anything about this. I just know it from sort of like my own knitting and being like, oh, look at how the rate of reg increases and that kind of stuff. Like just, you know.
You know, this is something I've thought about. Hi, Betty. And I don't want to spend a huge amount of time on it, but I do think that designers, like there is a sample size for sure. And if people are like, so there are kind of maybe standards, I guess. But one thing I've noticed is that I think a lot of designers design for themselves and then grade a pattern according to that. So whatever their body is actually, like they're the sample,
right?
More than whatever a sample size is. So what I find is that the things that fit me the best are made by designers that have a similar shape to me. And I think almost everybody, like that might be the case. And when people have different shapes from me, it doesn't fit me. It looks amazing on them, but it does not look amazing on me. And I think that that's maybe one of the reasons why, like, I'm glad there's more of this, like, inclusivity, like, not just size inclusivity, I guess is what I'm trying to say, but almost like diversity in designers, like that if you, like, you should be a designer actually, because if you have a body that's slightly different from what maybe a standard is, there are other people with your body, and they will say, Jackie's patterns always fit me perfectly because she has this particular shape. If I designed, I would be like people who have like, you know, like this kind of size shoulders, like I will design what looks good on me.
In your eyes.
In my, right.
Because it's like fit and aesthetic, right?
Yes.
So like,
true.
So you have a designer who's like, you know what would be a really beautiful sweater? And how can you not be thinking on some level about how it would look on you, right?
Yeah, that's how I would design, because I'd be designing for me and then saying, anyone else like this?
Yeah.
Because I made it for me, but if anybody else liked it.
Yeah, and I think that like there's a million different ways to design, but what I think I have ended up doing in my own knitting in terms of like the patterns that I end up knitting because they're on this side of the spectrum of like comfortable and easy are like silhouettes and proportions and designers that I know and work for me.
Yes.
Like there's a particular designer with their own who is renowned for her fit. Absolutely. Everyone talks about this is the perfect fit sweater. You should knit this. And I've knit a couple of things and they are my worst fitting things. Right. And when I say worst fitting, I mean like worst fitting in terms of I put it on and I'm like, oh, I don't like how this fits.
It doesn't fit you.
Which is like, I think part of it is proportion, maybe. But more than that, it's like how a garment sits on the body. Like what is fit? Like what's good fit?
And what do you like?
Yes. Yes. And like good fit goes, I think there's an aspect of it that is like, you know, can the girls get in, right? Yeah. There's that like very basic level of fit, but then there's this the piece of fit that's like aesthetic. Yeah. Right? Is like like for example, like this is a perfect this sweater is an example of sort of saying like I look at it and the fit and I think it fits and you're like it doesn't fit.
That's right. That's right.
The sweater. God. The color.
I know, I do love this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love how adventurous you are.
Thank you. We talked about how, like you said the other day, that I enjoy, what did you say? I love
skill acquisition.
Skill acquisition. And I'm like, that is it.
Not only do you like skill acquisition, but like learning a skill tends to look like, at least you know, let's like go short term. It's like, oh my God, it's so freaking hard. Oh, I'm sort of getting it, right?
Yeah.
And then this part depends on the skill. But like, I'm not so good at this climb. And Carmen's like, I love this part of the climb.
I love hate it. I love hate that part. And I was saying to Jackie, it's not that I love can't get this, I don't understand, why can't I get this? It's that, I know that when I'm at that stage, I'm just about to get it. And then it's going to feel this like amazing, like negative reinforcement where it like, all the bad is gone and I just feel amazing. And so the worse I feel, the more amazing I feel once I get it. So the harder it is going up the hill, the more fun it is coming down. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Or not coming down, but having it.
But like having it.
Well, having the joy of like, check, level unlocked.
Yeah.
I love that.
And I also think it's like, again, it's like why, what do you want out of your knitting experience?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I think you're someone who really welcomes challenge in the experience and is like lit up by challenge.
Totally.
Whereas I tend more to be lit up by relaxation. Although I do occasionally love a challenge.
Yeah. And I occasionally like relaxation. I love it.
Do you find that relaxing though?
Do I find
because I do
relaxing?
kind of think like when I
do.
think about your our spinning journey, for example, like although at the beginning when it was really challenging, I was just challenged. I was just like challenged. I was having like a lot of fun, but my state was challenged. And you were having like a lot of fun and challenge, and you found the challenge relaxing? Like
relaxing. Well, yes. I always like wool going through my hand. That's always relaxing to me. So that is part of spinning. That's what you're doing the entire time. So that's amazing. But relaxing but joyous is how I would also say.
Okay.
Like, there's an energy to it. It wasn't like a it was like like forward. What's gonna happen? What's this gonna turn out like? Oh my God, this was easier. Just suddenly like yay. But,
yeah, I don't know that I meet my challenges with as much joyousness as Carmen meets challenges. Yeah. I mean, this is gorgeous. I wish you guys could feel this. Okay. Like this I want on my body.
Yeah, right? You want that. You want some cashmere on your body. Like there's a reason people talk. And to be honest, I don't actually have a lot of cashmere. This was the only one things I had.
Well, my whole stash is Nutiden and Mohair and Suri, but so cashmere is not in my like. But like, you know when you go to if you go to a store and you pick up a cashmere sweater, like I pick them up and I'm like,
I know.
This
is
I'm
nice. Like, yeah, it is really. I mean, and it's been blocked. Like, so I don't, I don't know how store things are created, like, but this has been blocked. It's been,
warmed and shaped to your body. Do you feel like the fit is getting better?
Wait a second. Yes, I did. I was like, did I block it? I did. I do think the shape is getting better. I love it, and I want to make more because I know that it'll be, even the next ones will be even more. Like I would, like there's a few things I would drop down, which she actually changed in the pattern, but to have even a little bit slightly lower V, like all these different things. But I will say also that Nordic yarn, like check it out because of the recycled content, it's not the crazy pricing that you usually get with cashmere. So like I would say it was probably maybe half the price of cashmere, like, and you can get them in these like bundles. So it was really quite reasonable when we're talking cashmere.
Yeah, I mean, I popped onto their website when you were talking about them to try and figure out where it's from, and their story page is a very in-depth story, and so I stopped reading. But like my feeling is that this is a very personal project for them.
It's one of those where
it's one of those things that tugs at our woolly heartstrings. Is like, is there a story, and is this a personal story, and is it a story of like for me, it's like, is this a story that's about making a little place in the world that speaks to like who you are? Like, are you being you? And in doing so, giving permission for other people to be them, and also like giving a home to other people who are like you.
Absolutely.
Those are the
and I
ones
want
that
to
just
support
like,
those people.
Yeah.
That's where like I like to put my money. Like I really only spend money on wool. Like that's kind of, I don't really buy other things and clothes and stuff. But I feel very good like really deciding to put my money towards things that support like people that are trying to make a difference in this world.
Well, that's what moves you, and we're all moved by different things, right? Like, it's not you must only knit from small batch, hand-dyed yarn. It's like, for me, I'm just like, are you making decisions on the basis of what moves you, or are you making decisions on the basis of what society tells you you should be doing, or what moves other people in society that you're trying to like adopt? Like, just do you. Be you. You're not hurting anybody.
You're awesome.
Just do you.
Okay. So, what's your next? What would you like to talk about?
Oh my gosh, what do I want to talk about? Okay. I have one more finished object that I'm really excited about.
Well, we must see this one. Oh yes. Oh yes. Yes.
So this is the Lunae shawl by...
Oh my god.
This is a heavily modified Lunae shawl by Natasja Hornby.
Gorgeous.
I think I actually did show this on the podcast. Did I?
Nope. I think you talked about it.
Very, very like beginning stages. So this is a home project. This is like...
This is a focus.
Me and my home.
It's like pebbles.
Pebbles.
Yeah.
Oh.
The moss stitch feels like pebbles.
Yeah. So I love this so much. This is my Sun, Moon, and Stars shawl. It's knit in Nutiden Yarn single-stranded in the colorways. This gray is Stardust.
I love that color.
Show that. Stardust. The goldish color is Hofta. And then the white, there's actually two whites, although, can you see the two whites?
Yes. No.
No.
Wait, no.
Wait.
I see one.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's actually coming out. They're very, very close. This white is Flisselin, and then some of the stripes I've done in Vasen, which is has a little pink tinge or pink tone too. I heavily modified this shawl. So if I came up close, let me just like show you the texture. So it's mosaic knitting.
So beautiful.
And there is a pattern stitch that's called the star stitch in the pattern. And
This is the one that everybody talks about. Like,
yeah. So, I mean, tons of people have knit this pattern. I first saw this pattern on Caddy Jacks, and they knit it, and it was like absolutely gorgeous. And both of them talked about this star stitch and how challenging it was. And I actually swatched in it, and there was just absolutely no way that I would knit that shawl if I was like, nope, there was no joy. It's gorgeous, but there was, I just knew that it wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
I knit this
yourself.
I knit this on US, part of it on US size 0s and part of it on US size 1s. So toothpick knit, our own very casual cal that I feel like nobody's doing except me, and that's okay.
I apparently did it.
Yeah, you did it.
About
Yeah. But I was like, there's no way that that this shawl is going to happen if I do that. And so I had to think about like, what are my options? Because again, I'm also knitting in Nutiden, so it's off gauge, right? And I was like, what's a super forgiving like fabric? Moss stitch. And I like the texture. I think it creates a beautiful texture, like enough of that sort of woven-y texture that is part of the pattern that's beautiful. So I just subbed it with moss stitch.
So smart. That's so smart.
And then the rest of it is pretty much to pattern. What you'll notice, I don't know if you guys can see this. If you hold one end, if you were to look at the project on Ravelry, like the shape of my shawl is not the same. It's close, but it's not the same. Like it's more triangular than it is crescent-y. Like I feel like it's longer and it's also deeper.
Is it deeper? Because I, from what I remember, I thought theirs were like that it would go a lot longer.
No.
Oh, maybe not.
I think it's It's
more of a
supposed to be
crescent.
And it is still sort of a crescent, but I feel like it's more triangle than it is
Definitely
crescent.
more triangle.
The construction is really fun. You knit from like, you start from this end and you like knit this top triangle piece first. So that just like flies off the needles, knit like this direction. And then you pick up along here and then start knitting like back and forth. Like that. It's mosaic knitting, so you're only carrying one, you're only working with one color all the time, and there's that delicious meditative thing of like you're knitting. This one's mostly knit. You're doing mostly knit stitches. There are some purls, mostly knit stitches and slipping, which I feel like, you know how people talk about brioche as being like the most meditative thing. For me, it's mosaic.
Yeah, I agree. Brioche, I have to think.
But like, I love it so much. I don't know if you can see the difference between the two sort of whites. I didn't intend for it to be really loud. I just actually wanted to create more depth and a little more dimension because I felt like I was using like really low contrast colors, and I'm really happy with that choice. And I think maybe that's something that's just in my head, but like,
no, you can definitely
this
tell.
stripe
So all
is
of
different. This stripe is different, and then there's a little bit of like a border here with that color.
I can see it.
And my intention in the pattern is that she has tassels, and I was gonna sort of bring this pinky white down and do tassels, but one, I'm lazy, and two, I'm not sure how I would, like, to me it just is really clean geometric lines. And I don't know how I feel about tassels, especially because mine is already like deeper than usual. I think if it were like shorter, then I think the tassels would add like a nice proportion, but I wonder whether it wouldn't work. And plus it means that I don't have to make tassels.
Yeah.
But
it is just
I'm so
gorgeous.
happy with it. I wrote down how many. I can never remember my weights. Yeah, you can absolutely try it on. 162 grams.
Like, wrap around me.
Yeah. So that's my
162?
162 grams for the whole thing. So I subbed out the star stitch with moss stitch, but everything else is the same with the pattern. Did everything else to pattern.
This is so Jackie to me. Like on every level, like if I could pick something that would represent you, it would be this. Like the colors are so you, the mosaic knitting, the like, you know, geometrical pattern of it, the fact that it's Natasja Hornby, like I just think all of that is
like that's home. Like that is a home pattern for me for sure.
So beautiful.
And it was a joy to knit.
This is how I wear my shawls most of the time.
Always,
you know?
like
that. Because I just like, and sometimes I'll tie them if I want to get them out of my way if they're long enough, but
that's your favorite thing.
Yeah, it's that, you know, Amy Pelko talks about it being a hug, and this is the most huggy to me.
Yeah, like that wrap. Yeah, so I cast these on at the same time because I actually really love the color together. I was like, just like
these
great.
two.
Yeah, these two, and I like wanted them to be an outfit.
Yeah, it's beautiful, gorgeous.
But again, like I had doubts about this one. I was like, is it too low contrast? Because if you look at the pattern, the sample is in like gray, white, and like a like ultramarine, beautiful deep navy, and I loved it then. And that's a lot of the when I encountered the pattern on other knitters and podcasters, that's what like drew me to it. Yeah. But I was like, I don't know that I'm gonna do that, so I knit a blue sweater and my happy low contrast yarn, and I think the mosaic shows up.
It shows up beautifully. It really,
but like in a subtle kind of way.
Yeah, it's one of those things with low contrast, right?
Yeah.
Like that, it's, you know, it's a different look to it. And I know for myself, I'm one of my whips actually has it's also low contrast, but it's, even though it's actually a bit fluorescent-y, if you can believe it, it's still low contrast.
Yeah.
And I'm not quite sure when I'm knitting it, but I always know at the end of it, it's like, no, this is cool. And it's not gonna look exactly the way that maybe the pattern was designed to look, like, well, the same as my petite knitter sweater.
Yeah.
Claire de Lune last time, like, yeah, which is, by the way, thank you everyone for all of your comments. I realize I haven't responded to all of them yet, but I did want to just say, I really appreciate our community, and that people were really honest. And afterwards reflecting on it, I was like, wow, I really kind of asked something that maybe wouldn't have been the easiest thing
To receive.
Not to receive, I was fine with it, but to say it, right? Like, because I'm basically saying which of these looks, when I'm saying which one do I look healthier with, I'm really also saying which one looks bad. So I actually appreciated some of the comments were really clear, like, this doesn't look good on you, or this one does. And it was such a wide variety too, which also, I mean, we can't get into that now because we've talked so much about what we're taking from all of this and like these ideas about what looks good and what comes into what we see as looking good. But
I do want to say one thing about that actually. Yes. So what I took away from, so this is your first time watching, Carmen knit 2 beautiful color work sweaters. One was really low contrast, neutral, muted colors, and one was like, wapow, gorgeous high contrast. And she did the vulnerable thing of being like, hey guys, I think that I look terrible in one of these and great in the other things. Which one do I look terrible in? And people told her. But this, what I took away from it is if you were to read the comments, what you would recognize is that there were enough people, like almost the same number of people who said like, you look terrible in that one, as people being like, yes, you look great in that one and terrible in the other. Yes. Which was just the like final cementing of me saying, there is no such thing as beautiful. Absolutely. There's no such thing as beautiful. True. And like, look at yourself through the eyes of a good friend who will see you the way that like you wish to see yourself. Do not look at yourself through the lens of Instagram. Do not look at yourself through the lens of like when you're having a crappy day. Yes. Because there is no such thing as beautiful. The most beautiful thing is you wearing something that you love and you feel beautiful in. Yes. And I do not care about anything else. That's it. I love it. Okay, rant over. Sorry. I like that. I love that. But it was so illuminating to me. It really is. Because what was also interesting was that your question actually was like, I think you asked, there was like, you asked about which one looks better, but there was also a conversation about you saying like, I think this one makes me look ashen or sickly. So not only were the comments about like beauty in terms of like, do I like it? Yes. It was also about like, how does it reflect on you as a person? Face. Your face. My skin tone. Like all that kind of stuff. And there was still so much diversity in opinion and like really strong opinions also. Just like, you should never wear that color ever again. Like, no, right? I know. I appreciate that though so much. I also appreciate all of you who were like, give her the sweater. Give the muted sweater to Jackie. Yes, I guess I got distracted. She's having it because I've watched our episode again too. Because I mean, partly I'll like read a comment about it and then I'm like, oh, I want to see like what this person sees. And so I've seen Jackie in that sweater quite a number of times. And every time I'm like, well, it's just meant for her. So I already let her know that it's hers. It's meant to be yours. And I'm excited about that. Like, cause I like I know that you had said it's got so much history though, right? Like with, Sarah, like Knit City and then, like Debbie and like just all of the different pieces to it. But I love that I got to experience all of that. And then you were going to have it. And it's like, you were there because you should have been there with me. Like I would go to Knit City with you if it happened to be, we were both in Vancouver. Yeah. I'm so lucky. I'm so lucky too. I'm so lucky. Because I'm going to get your other sheep camp. Yeah. No, I'm kidding. I shouldn't have said that there because I'm just like, no, now she's going to feel like she has to, but I'm totally going to steal it. What was I going to say? See, I am excited because I feel like I want to have that sweater for a while. And then at some point I'm going to gift it back to you. Beautiful. Because I think that there will be a time and a place where you might be open to experiencing that sweater again. Oh, getting me back mine? Yeah. Sure. Yeah. We shall see. We shall see. What you always say our friendship is. It's a lifelong friendship. It's lifelong. And you say something else like, oh, maybe it's because you're like, we can get into the depth. We don't have to rush anything. Like it's a lifelong thing. So there's lots of time. Yeah. Because we never feel like we have enough time. We never do. We also never feel like we have enough time with you guys on the podcast. No. So is it a lifelong podcast? Jesus, that makes me, I'm like, we don't have that much to say. Though apparently. Yes, we do. Yesterday, Carmen and I are like, do you have anything to say about the podcast? Like,
Yeah, we never think
I
we
have nothing to say.
Yeah.
I hope that we have something to say once the camera gets rolling. Whoops. Okay, I want to play one game with this.
Ooh.
Because
Oh, love that.
I like this is me planning for another shawl. So that like low contrast Lunae shawl, I paired it with the navy, but what color would you pair it with?
You pair, oh, navy, you mean this?
Sorry, the blue, the
denim
blue. Like to me, I was like, I don't want it in the shawl, but I want it as an outfit together. And then the other day, happened to be wearing the sweater, and then I threw the shawl on. I was like, nope, this is the perfect color combo. This is my happy place.
What a surprise.
I was like, this is my happy place.
It's so you.
It's so me.
You wrapped up in you.
Yeah, and I want to knit a shawl in like this color combo.
That, yes, live.
So this is Liv, also Nutiden. We talked about it in a previous episode, which I'll link. I won't go over the pattern again, but like I want to do a color work, like a full color work sweater, in like these tones, because the most recent collection of Nutiden has a lot of like similar tones. Like there's a like goldy one, like Sylvanda, and I have a lot of gray in my stash, and there's these like versions of these like muted neutrals.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah. So, you know, can your aesthetic be this and this at the same time?
Damn straight. Of course it can be. It can be anything.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you have a bunch of whips.
I have two whips, but I am thinking, I was like, should we talk about it? But I think I do want to talk about one of them.
Okay.
And I don't know that we'll get to the second one, and that's fine. I can talk about it after, but now I gotta remember, is it this one?
Okay, so you know what's really funny? When Carmen and I first became friends, I would say that I knew like 90% of what was on your needles.
Yeah.
And ever since we started doing the podcast, I love the surprise factor of like her not knowing what's on my needles and then seeing it like for the first time. Part of it is also like you being able to see it in person as opposed to like the crappy like in the middle of the night bad lighting photos. I'm like, does this color look good? And it's just like yellow sheen and darkness, right? Like, Jaheim, is that 2 colors or 3 colors? I don't know. That like being able to have that experience. But this means that as we lead up to the podcast episode, I actually have no idea what's on your needles. Thank goodness we started spinning, because I know 100% of what you're spinning and nothing about what you're knitting.
That's right.
So I'm like so excited. I'm just like you guys. I'm like, what's Carmen working on?
I know, look at me. I even zipped it into a bag so she couldn't see it.
She brings everything down all like secret and quiet in the night. Everything's like covered. And I'm like, do you have anything for day? And she's like, yes, in the secret corner that you can't see.
Well, I hope it's as good as that lead up.
Of course it is.
Okay.
Of course it is.
Well, okay, so I mean it's good because, you know, here's your quick spoiler. It is a shawl, which I don't do as many of. Jackie does a lot of shawls. I do not do many shawls. I love them, but I also just don't tend to either knit them, and I don't wear them that much, but when I do, I'm very happy with them.
Yeah.
Also, we've talked a bit about like, well, you have knits that represent whales, and this is your sun, moon, and stars, you know, like you think about it and you have a knit that represents that. And I've always really thought that was such a beautiful way to go about things, but I also knew that I can't like manufacture that. Like it has to be authentic. So I've always wanted a knit like that. In particular, I wanted a goddess knit. So we, you know, you've been doing this kind of work for a long time. I would say over the past like year or so, I've gotten much more into exploring this kind of thing. And right now I work with Amy Palco, who I'm sure you know as this incredible podcast called The Meaningful Stitch. She's a goddess. She's a knitting goddess in terms of her knitting, but she's also this absolutely brilliant person in general. She's a PhD. And she offers goddess readings where you can, like it talks about, you know, your goddesses that are coming to you, how it connects with your with your astrological chart, all of this wonderful stuff. So I've been like thinking about these goddesses, thinking about like what kind of energy am I connecting with, and how I would love to have a shawl that represents that, but I hadn't had anything pop out until a few weeks ago. And I have a monthly meeting with Amy where she like takes my chart at that exact moment and we have a look at like what's going on based on my birth chart and what's happening right now. And
In the stars.
Yeah. So right before I had my talk with her, it came to me, I had this like urge to look up, is there a goddess for new beginnings? Because I feel like there has been a lot of transition for me in the past, and I mean for quite a while, but like something is coming to a head where I'm like learning about myself, knowing more things about myself. I had some ideas of what I was like, and now opening myself up to these other possibilities. The podcast being part of this, you know, like I wouldn't have, a few years ago, I would be like, no way. And I was like, I convinced myself that I was completely introverted and didn't want, I'm a psychologist, but I don't know what I was thinking. I'm not introverted, but
We're not our own, that's why we can't be our own psychologists though,
really
right?
can't.
Like you can't.
Like I really, yeah. But deciding to open these other parts of myself up and kind of embracing them. And there's just been a lot of transition in my life and things like trying out new possibility. Anyway, I had this moment of like, I was feeling this new beginnings, like suddenly this piece of things had been happening and now there is a breakthrough of light. And I'm like, is there a goddess for new beginnings? Because at first I was like, well, there's a love component to it, but it's not, it's more than that. It has this extra bit of a starting, because I was connecting with Aphrodite, or Venus, but it wasn't quite that. Anyway, so yes, there is, of course. And well, I mean, there's many ways there are many goddesses that could be new beginning. But what popped up immediately when I looked was Eos or Aurora. And Aurora and Eos, right? She's the light that comes, she's the color of the sky before the dawn. She's the dawn, but the dawn isn't the sun coming up. The dawn is the light that's breaking through and is this newness. And reading her story, like, you look all like choked up, that's so beautiful. Reading her story, I just connected so much, and I was like, I want her around me. Like I need a shawl that represents her. Funny enough, so Amy, I have my meeting with her the next day, and I sent her a quick text beforehand saying, by the way, like, could we check out like Eos? Like, and Eos is not one that she actually does much work with, but she went and looked, and it's completely like, it was just an absolutely fascinating. Eos is all over my chart, birth and the current when we do it. Anyway, all of that is extra. I'm connecting with Eos. I want a shawl that has her wrapping around me. At the same time, Brittany, again, Crux Fibers, had released her beautiful new low mileage wool. And I got it in a colorway called Frost. Well, not a colorway called Frost, from a sheet called Frost. It's Frost's wool, which is a kind of a cooler toned white. Let me see if I show you this. Hold on a second. I'm just going to show. So this is Frost. And this is beautiful. So beautiful. And I was trying, before even Eos, like I connected with her, I was trying to figure out, so funny, I feel a little worked up from it. Yeah. So funny. I was trying to figure out what I'm going to make with this beautiful yarn too. It was so special, but I didn't know what. A bunch of projects had popped into my head, but then when I connected with Eos, I knew it was this that I wanted, but it wasn't completely perfect. There was a color that needed to be added, and I knew exactly where to find it, even though I didn't know that they had it. But I went on Sonder Yarn Co. because I just knew that they would create this color, this exact color that I wanted. I'm going to show you first the color. Hold on a second. Oops, it's going the wrong way here. Are you waiting in suspense?
I am waiting.
Okay.
I'm waiting, also trying not to like weep.
Oh my god! Sticking in. This is a color called Sweet Pea. Do you know that Sweet Pea is also the flower for April, which is my birthday month.
Yeah, it's her birthday month. Guys, love her extra. Because aren't we so lucky that she was born?
Oh, thank you. But this was it. I'm like, yep, this is exactly it. These two come together. And what was the shawl that I wanted? I wanted something very comforting. I didn't want it. I have my goddess for the year is named Nukua, and she's about like detail and orientation, and I know for that I want to make something that is quite intricate in some ways, even if it's just like very, very tiny needles. This one I didn't want that. I wanted something very comforting and big, so that you can see the needles. I think they're size 8s maybe.
That is very big for you.
Size 8, 5 millimeters. And I ended up, maybe I'll show it, deciding also with Sonder yarn to knit the Fleur shawl. So this is what it actually is gonna look like. It's garter with little baubles. And actually, our friend Alex from the Serenity Knitting Society, check out her podcast. She is a riot.
I love her.
So fun. You want to feel like you know somebody, like you're like, you feel like you're like sitting in her living room just chilling with
Alex,
her.
we love you.
She had made a gorgeous one, and I was like, this is it. This is the combo.
Sorry.
This is the combo.
She also made hers as a goddess shawl.
She did. That's right. She did. Oh my God. Okay. So this is how it's all. Hang on a second. I stuck this so that it wouldn't come up. I'm not done. It's a whip, obviously. But this is my. Oh, it's looking a little bit more gray here. I wonder if we can change the color. Sometimes. Oh, don't know if you're gonna quite see it.
Here?
Maybe, yeah.
Here?
Pinky? As long as it looks, I feel like there was like a, anyway.
I feel like it's close here.
Yeah. It is exactly the color that I wanted. It's exactly the combo. It wasn't exactly this that I wanted, and it wasn't exactly this I wanted. It was these two together that have created this, like, I don't know, smoky pink, dusty pink, like,
Dusty pink.
Oh my God. And it's just rhythmic back and forth garter with some bauble interest, and all I want to do is finish this so that I can wrap it around me.
So
and Brittany's in it, and you know,
Sarah, who's the shepherdess of the flock.
A little
cares for Frost.
I'm just so happy with it, and it's a crescent shawl. I think triangle shawl, which I love the most. I just can't wait. To have it done, to wear it. It feels important to me, and I feel really connected, and it's like representative. And you know, I'm not also rushing to finish it. Like, so I even cast on for my birthday. I cast on another project that was my other whip, because I was like, right now I know I also want a birthday cast on, and so this doesn't have to rush. But I also feel like in some ways it represents that like new beginning, and maybe it's over time, like just seeing what ends up coming from it. And yeah, I'm just really thrilled.
Can I offer like what's coming up for me as I like
yes,
listen
please.
to you talk? I also think, you know, one of the things that one of the gifts of our friendship is like how we exist on, in some ways we're the same, in some ways we like exist on opposite sides of the spectrum, and I think that's really what like harmony and balance is about. Yes. It's not about like is one way good and the other way bad, but like how much access do you have to the whole spectrum?
Yeah.
Right? And I feel like one of the things that you do so well in your like Aries way is like the like fire, starty, sparky kind of like way that you participate in the world. And when I hear you talk about this, I hear you like savoring the slowness.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And like savoring the time that it took for this to like land. Mm-hmm. And you really celebrating that, yes. Right?
Yes.
So it also then makes sense that you're gonna like savor the process of it. Yeah. And there's gonna be moments where this is gonna be like all that you want to knit on, and then there are gonna be moments where you're gonna very like happily put it down.
Yes.
Right? Oh my God.
when I first started it, I just couldn't stop. I just loved it. I loved it. I still love it. So it's one of those things that just sits there as available to me at all times if I want to, and I just want to knit a few rows or something. Like,
so beautiful.
thank you. I really am so thrilled with how it's turning out and squishy and light.
That's a goddess that I've worked with a lot.
It is.
That's why I get weepy, because there's a shawl that I think, did I show it on the podcast? There's a whole meditation that one of my favorite meditations in the world is about contacting that light of the dawn, like the pink cloud of the morning dawn.
Oh my gosh. Was this the Birds of a Feather then?
Yeah. So I get, I'm weepy for two reasons. One is because I feel the depth of meaning this has for you. And I actually like wish that everybody could experience that feeling, but we can't manufacture it. It's
Exactly.
it's like bestowed upon us in a moment of synchronicity and delight, like when we need it. That's my perspective in the world.
I agree.
But also because I just like, I think you can feel the meaning, and I can't wait to witness the experience of it being on you when it's like completed.
I can't
There's
wait.
like beauty, and then there's like the soul deep heart contacting beauty, which is just one of the forms of beauty in the world. It's not better than the frantic cast on.
No,
right?
Absolutely. I love the frantic
no
cast
way the frantic cast on is like amazing. But it's just like, can you experience the joy of both? Can you receive the beauty of both, you know?
Yes.
And so I feel
Love
weepy
it.
because I love this energy. This is an energy that I just love.
Aww. As usual, Jackie just summarized everything I was feeling without me knowing that I felt it. Perfect. Or at least maybe knowing that I felt it, but not having the words. Sorry, bud. The words to express it. So I keep hitting you. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Like, I hope it's not a problem. Or I hope it's not driving you nuts.
Just like always, chaos. Always chaos here.
Yeah.
Always unfiltered, unedited.
Yes.
And we hope that that's okay.
Yeah.
And if it's not, that's also okay.
Yeah. There are
Mute us,
loads
turn
of
us off.
wonderful
There are
podcasts
so many podcasts out there.
Yes,
Go find
that
your
do
people.
beautiful editing. It's great.
Do you have anything else that you want to show?
I will leave my other whip for the next.
Really?
Yeah, I might even have it done, but should I talk about it?
Do you want to talk about that? Do you want to talk about spinning? Is there anything on this beautiful table of spinning things that you want to talk about? Or do you feel complete?
I feel complete.
Yeah.
Do you feel complete? Like, I feel, okay, you know what? I'm going to mention the whip.
Yeah.
Because I do feel like I want to, but I'm not going to talk very long about it. So I am knitting, okay, first of all, okay, I always have to set it up with all of them because there's always a story behind everything. But
That's why our podcast name is its name, by the way. I don't know if we've ever talked about that.
Yarn
Because it's called like Knitting a Good Yarn, which like, you know, was a nod to Nutiden, and just finding fiber that has story and meaning. But it was also supposed to be a play on words, which is that like, we're here for the story. Like, we're here for the knits, we're here for the beauty, but like, we're equally here for the story.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of like, I'm like, even if we didn't show the object, it would be okay, you know? Like, of course we're going to show the project.
Don't worry. I feel like everyone's like, wait, what? No, but show me. Look at this bag. It says, buying yarn and using it are two different hobbies. Right? It's true. When I was in England last summer, I went to a little wool festival, like yarn festival, in like the gym of a school, elementary school. And at the time, like I was going through, because I was really into my Nutiden and really into non-superwash fibers. And this had a lot of knitting festivals, like with independent dyers, they do a lot of, we've talked about this, but they do a lot of superwash because superwash really grabs dye beautifully because you don't have all the scales on the fiber to kind of get in the way of that. So it can just really soak it in. So I'm walking along thinking, oh my gosh, it was so beautiful. I love squishing all the yarn and everything, but I was like not feeling the need to buy anything. And then right when I was about to leave,
dun dun dun.
dun dun dun, I realized that there was that botanical yarn who's out in York. I don't know if you've seen, I'm blanking on her name, but she's the most lovely, fun person. She does a York, what were they called? York Fiber Festivals or something. During COVID, they would do it online. And so she would organize these on Saturday mornings wherever, like each person had like 15 or 20 minutes to talk about, right?
I don't know this dyer.
You don't.
I don't know this dyer, but
Like,
oh my God, my heart.
Aesthetic. I tried on 4 sweaters. I bought 3, the kits for 3, because I was in love.
Okay, I need to put this away so I can actually pay attention to you.
I was in love with this. One of the sweaters I tried on was the Stria Cardigan from Andrea Mowry. Thank you, yes. Look at that, I was proud. There we go. Now, looking at this particular version didn't necessarily grab me enough to make me want to knit it. I also had heard it's in half fisherman's rib and like
I also have heard
size
this, like,
2s and
toothpick knit.
yeah, in fingering weight. Anyway, I tried the sweater on at I wish I knew her name.
Oh,
really
that's
cute.
why
Sophie, I think.
That's why I looked at it.
I'm gonna go with Sophie and hope that that's right. I tried it on and I'm like, I loved it. It's in superwash, 75% superwash, 25% nylon, like exactly not the thing that I was, like not the fiber content that I would normally do.
At that time.
Yeah, but it was perfection and I'm so excited.
It is Sophie.
Oh, good.
Sophie lives in York, UK with her sausage dog, Luna.
Sophie's lovely, like just really fun person. Anyway, so this is the main color. It's a gorgeous gray, like pearly dove gray, which is my jam. Like this is the gray.
That's
of
your
my
gray.
jams. Yeah, absolutely love it. And then I got a little samplers. Well, actually, I guess I can show it like this.
Can we show it both ways?
Yeah, sure. She
just
had
wanna-
a little
I
like
wanna handle her
mini
balls.
stain set.
Oh my God.
How am I all connected
Oh my
here?
God.
Okay, let me make sure I'm on the right side. This is the right side. So look, is this not like total spring?
Spring palette here.
Got like a pink, yellow. Now look, this is the purple. Now here you can almost not see it.
Yeah.
In person it's a little better, but it's really low contrast even though it's quite bright.
Love
but low
it.
contrast. Blue and then a green. So this was what I cast on. So I bought this last summer. I almost cast it on immediately, then got distracted by a test knit I think I was doing for Leave Alvin, and then didn't end up getting it done. Cast it on, I was like, my birthday, I'm looking around my Ep.8 stash. There's so many options for me to choose. And it just kept being like, no, I want this. It's so Eastery, like springtime for me, but so cute. And so I cast it on and I'm so thrilled. In addition to this being, I love the colors. I love them. And I love the pattern where you come up to your stripes. So it's like, it keeps you moving, right? Like it's Moorish, absolutely. Like you're like, what's the next? And especially at the beginning, because you're going, how are they all gonna set? And should I do 5? Should I do 4? How many like colors should I do? All of that. That was so fun. But it turns out, people, I love half fisherman's red. Love the process of this. I enjoy, and this pattern you go on in the stitch below. Again, at the beginning, I'm like, I don't know if I know how to do this, and then I did it and I'm like, oh my God, this is so fun. And I hate ribbing, but why? I don't know. This is it. It's it. So I've just been knitting on this. Like my Aurora shawl got put off to the side a little bit because I just want to.
I want this gray.
It's so squishy. I know. What
I want
actually
this gray.
do I have? Oh, it's upstairs. We'll put it in the notes what this colorway is, but it's a perfect.
It's the perfect gray.
Lily, it's okay.
Lily, come here. It's all good. Tell me. No, come here. Lily, come here. Yeah. Here.
Cuties. And everybody talks about, well, it's like, the squish of brioche. This is, like, I guess it's kind of like brioche. Like, I know people say it's like it, but it's not exactly the same. You're not doing the same little shawls.
It's like half as squishy.
Half as squishy.
Because fisherman's rib can be subbed with half brioche, which is
God,
like
so
half
maybe
as
quarter,
squishy.
so it's a quarter squishy because this is half fisherman's rib.
No, sorry, half fisherman's rib can be subbed with half brioche.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, or similar, very similar, I think.
I love it. I love
so
what's being
beautiful.
created. I love knitting it. It's on twos, and I'm just happy as a clam.
Okay. It's so color play is so interesting to me, and like I'm calling it my color renaissance. But like I look at this and I think it's beautiful. I mean, I would buy this mini. I would buy this set. This is like inside of my wheelhouse. But then you add the gray, and it just like it's like you
Next
complete
level.
me.
Yes.
You know, like, and
I
of course,
agree.
as a neutral person, I would say that, but I actually feel like the gray sets off, like they make the colors
even better
than without.
I agree.
Like, let's do it without my shawl. Like, look, so beautiful, even more beautiful. Like, I just, it's so beautiful. And I'm like I'm like, I will trade you 2 sheep camp sweaters for one of those. Like,
well, but okay, unlike a lot of the stuff we do, like when we work with Nutiden and things like that, you can't actually, unless you can find people that have these in stashes that are willing to sell you, you can't make this because it'll never be made again. Like Caroline only makes it one time. But these kinds of things, like Sophie dyes this, you can have this. You can have this. Yes. You can just contact her and say, I'd like that set. I mean, and actually my set was a little different from what she had done for her sample. I think they were a little more,
let me
they weren't
not
as neon.
buy it while we're filming.
Yeah. But she dyed it all up for me and had it shipped to me, like, because she didn't have enough of things like
in the festival.
at the festival, so she had it all shipped to me in England.
Oh man, I'm really glad that you showed that so that I got to see it, because if you guys didn't get to see it, I wouldn't get to see it.
That's true.
Okay, I thought I was complete. Now I'm not complete. I'll be speedy because this ties exactly into like my current situation.
Yes.
My current situation. So this is spinning and knitting content together, but I am about to go on about spinning. Okay, so there's a couple of things. One is that I realize that the way that my creative process works is that I like to like fall into a rabbit hole of somebody else's creative process and aesthetic, right? So I fell into Carolyn's aesthetic rabbit hole, and I live there.
Yes.
And then recently, no, that's my home. However, I do like occasionally take a vacation from Nutiden.
Yep. It used to be just a Suri vacation, but now I'm on like a full on, and then I took a vacation to Brittany's creative process and her low mileage wool, which is of course not Nutiden, but like nobody's surprised, right? Yes. Like Brittany, like me, we're gray connoisseurs, and we could just have a whole stash that is just gray. And all of the variations of gray, and be happy for the rest of my life, hours
and talk about it, and never go outside of gray.
Yep.
And then, through this lovely fiber community, through Meaghan, who is the dyer, amazing Canadian dyer, behind Bramble Ridge Yarn, we'll link everything below. At some point, I had said, like, I just want Suri at a lace weight. Thing.
Yes.
And so Meaghan, who watched our podcast at that time, slid into the DMs and said, I have it.
Yes.
And I was like, you have it? And you're Canadian? And I don't have to worry about like duties and VAT and like craziness. And the like $40 that gets tacked on by whatever mail company that is outside of the duties, just because it's coming from outside of the world, that like,
they're like, this is our administration fee. For what?
Anyhow, whatever. Rant over. So she has this beautiful, this is Suri, like lace weight Suri alpaca. So it's a good sub for mohair because your yardage is the same if you're not a mohair person, and also Suri is kitten soft. And I saw this and I was just like, purchase. I love this so much. I mean, is this in my color? Like, are you surprised? Are you surprised by this? Like, yes and no. Like,
I'm a little surprised. I don't think it's like yes and no. like there are elements that wouldn't normally maybe be in, but
Here.
also it is you. Yeah.
But anyhow, so I like see this and I'm just like, the person who put this together
Genius.
is a genius. Because to me, this is like neutrals with like just the same, just like the pop interest that makes me happy. Like my favorite sweater of all time, which is the bouquet sweater, which is like, you know, like the background color, like main color is like my home.
Yes.
And then there's just like pops of interest. This is what I love. And in fact, so I have this, it's like super gorgeous. I'm super happy. And then because I have now reached a level of my spinning where I'm actually able to spin things and knit with them, as opposed to spin things and be like, this is string. But I couldn't put it, or rope, or a string that's falling apart. And I cannot knit it into something because that thing would just fall apart or have giant holes in it or pigtails in it. Anyhow, but
Oh God.
then it turns out that
I shouldn't get that way even. Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
so cool. And then you can
actually I'll undo and then I'll roll back up. And then I find out that Meaghan has dyed this in a braid of BFL fiber, which I'm told is a fiber that I would like because it's soft and it's really drapey.
nice to spin.
And nice to spin and like a good fiber to use for beginners. And wabam. I love it. And so like, I'm like, you know, all of this, I think there are like camps around untreated versus like treated. And I think one of the things that is said is like treated wool, for example, superwash, takes dye. And so you get a level of like color that you might not be so easy to get on a untreated fiber because of its stuff. And also I think Brittany from Quartz Fibers is like, Jackie, you know that if it's untreated, you have to use like so much more dye in order to like get a level of color saturation. Anyway, I'm like, I don't care. Like, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful.
And sorry, was this untreated or
This is untreated? This is
Untreated.
untreated. Look at
Oh my
it.
God.
And like I sometimes think to myself, I needed the gateway of this to get to this. Like I think like if I had just opened
one
up the
step
shop, I wouldn't be like, this is my jam. But like, because I was like, I feel like this is my current spirit. Like I just love it so much and I have to have it. Like it walked me down the road of into this, which spins into this.
Is this what you would think? Also, I want to ask.
Yes,
like,
this is the funnest thing about spinning is like,
right?
How did this become this?
Maybe hold it up so people can see like a little bit more. Like, look at it.
So this is the braid. These are singles. Actually, can you hold this?
Yes,
Because
I
I have
can.
one more piece. And then, so I spun this sort of, the plan is a 2-ply fractal. I've only sort of spun a sample. Turns into this, which turns into this. Hang on, can I do
I
this?
have probably one more hand. I can use
Oh, can you take this one?
Yeah, this one, yes. That would make much more sense.
Which turns into, so I have 2 swatches, which I feel like is like winter Jackie and spring Jackie. Which one do I do first? Do this one first. And then when you knit it up, it knits into this.
I wonder if you can go maybe closer so they can see, like, yeah, gorgeous.
Like, how does that become this?
yeah, how? I don't know.
How?
That's the magic of spinning.
Right? Like, it's the magic of spinning. It's so fun. And that's why I feel like even if you're not a spinner, I hope that some of what we share about spinning is gonna enrich your knitting practice. Because I
Yeah.
feel like for probably like before we got wheels, probably for like a year or more, I was watching podcasters who were spinners and like making friends with people who were spinners, and like the conversations that I had with them did inform my knitting practice.
Yeah.
So anyhow, that's like how magic.
Beautiful.
And then what I did want to talk about, why I brought this, is because I feel like I'm having an identity crisis. It's not an identity crisis.
Just a new iteration.
It's
of
like
you.
it's just like what
It's just
what do I want to do with this? Like, I mean, this is so precious and it's so beautiful. for many different reasons, inclusive of how much I love Meaghan and how everything that I'm dream knitting in my head right now is in her palette, because she is brilliant.
Yes.
And there's something about the way that she combines colors that makes this like neutral, loving human being be like, I want to play in color.
Yes.
Also spring. I always play with color in spring. But I'm like, so when I saw this, the first thing that popped up in my head is that I wanted to pair it with like a purple, like an aubergine. I just thought I really like that. That's what's in my head, is like a deep purple maroon with a teal. And I thought that would be really good.
Gorgeous.
And then as happens, I was like pulling everything out of my stash and I thought, okay, well, this is one of my favorite Nutiden colors of all time. This is Morker from Morker. I feel like when I say Morker, I sound like the most Canadian, like it's the least Swedish and the most Canadian pronunciation. I'm like, Morker.
That's awesome. I like it.
So I put this together and I was like, oh, baby. Like this just makes me so happy. So I swatched. My plan is to make a pressed flowers, something in the pressed flowers family. So this was here's where I started, was here.
Look at how it
which
stands
I love
out there.
so much.
It's gorgeous.
I will say, when I started to get into the orange, because, you know, there's some, like, there are orange pops, and I love the orange pops. When I started to get to the orange pops, I suddenly was like, oh, do I like the orange next to this particular color? I don't know. So then I'm starting to, like, doubt because I have these moments, like, when I think about the color work that I knit that I love the most, actually, most of them have this, like, I have to have it moment.
Yep.
And then I always get in my head.
Me too. Always.
I always get in my head.
Second guessing.
So I started to get in my head, and in the process of getting into my head, actually, Carmen and I have a group chat with one of our friends who we adore, and Carmen accidentally like pressed a color and changed the theme of the group chat. I don't know how she did it, but it was like a sign from the universe, because she changed it to a theme that had a certain color combination, and I went right. So everything like you know, last episode I was like, look to nature for the colors, and I'm like, look to the Instagram theme for the colors. Like, color inspiration can come from anywhere, and it landed me in this.
That is really beautiful
Combo.
That's also so beautiful.
And I really don't know which one I want, because I actually, like, to me, they're both so beautiful.
They are.
In different ways.
They are. They are. And this one, this one is much higher contrast. You'll see all the color changes.
Yeah.
The other one, you'll miss some of the color changes, but no, you won't miss them, but they're going to be not as obvious.
Yeah. What do you guys like? What do you think?
We're waiting.
Yeah.
Let us know.
Let us know.
Right now. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, if you let us know in the comments, we'd love to know.
Look ill.
I was going to say, you know that our girls are going to get one. And I don't think we've come, I don't know if we have male watchers. You're also very
male
welcome.
watchers, we love you.
But I do know that we're going to get your actual opinion here.
I actually love them equally.
I love them equally. Yeah, I love them equally.
This one shows off.
That one shows. That's the one I would go with for who I am, and also I love how it's really spotlighting your handspun.
Yeah.
That one. The other one though is absolutely gorgeous and is so you that it's also, if you go that route, you'll be so happy too. It looks amazing. It's so spring-like too.
One of the thoughts that I have is like, this is a really small swatch.
Yeah.
And I wonder, and like one of the things, so for example, if you're new to mosaic knitting, here's my tip. It's gonna look like trash until you block it. Sorry, that's not true. You're gonna be like,
it won't be as nice.
You're gonna be like, like what? Like you're gonna look at the pattern and you're gonna look at your knit and you're gonna be like, what have I done wrong? Because that's just the nature of mosaic. I think one of the things about a mosaic pattern, like I was so unsure. Like I've knit a million mosaic patterns and I was like, I think I made a mistake.
Oh,
like even though I made a mistake because the color, like the pattern isn't gonna come out, but you have to think about like scale.
Yeah.
And I think mosaic, like you need more.
Yeah.
To see the scale. And so I wonder if this is a whole sweater
You will see
whether
it more.
you will see like whether you'll still be able to appreciate the colors.
Yep.
And like it's possible that I just need to do both. Like honestly,
We
it's
already
possible.
know you're doing both anyway.
Right.
So,
like I'm
you're
just
doing
like,
two.
okay, so like this is my sweater and this is the pressed flower shawl. Like this is my thought process right now. Meaghan, how much duck fiber can I
see? She makes duck.
But here's the thing, and that's the thing
have
that is like
more.
so exciting, I think, is being able to like play in the palette of somebody else's mind, and the like privilege that we have for dyers who create beautiful colorways and take the time to create colorways that are repeatable.
Yes.
Right? Because Carolyn's Nutiden, because she works with variable product, like the fleeces are different and the pH of the rainwater is different when they add the pigments. Like it's not, it can't be created again.
Yes.
And then like some of Brittany's low mileage wool, like we've had the opportunity to work with the same flock of sheep over 2 years, and the wool is different because the source is different. Whereas, you know, this, which comes from, is like a commercially sourced thing, is not perfectly repeatable. Like I don't know that I could get more and have it exactly the same. It won't be exactly the same, but it's like
much
closer.
It's possible to have
to
it much
same closer. That I'm like, oh my god, what if I did like this sweater and this shawl and had them together on my body?
Ooh. Wearing them together?
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
That says a lot coming from me, but I think it's a lot. But maybe it'd be awesome. And even if it is, well, yeah, do that or have it separate, or
Have it separate.
they're all gonna be. It's gonna be amazing.
So, but like I'm still, part of what is so exciting about spinning is like just watching it go from there to there to there, and like you just don't know. And I also know that this is not what it's gonna look like in my actual project, because the color changes are like this is not how the color changes are gonna look.
I know. And I will say that is, I think I said before that I probably wouldn't make another pressed flowers, because why would I? Because I felt like
because
my
you
one
already
was
have
so
the
perfect. Why would
perfect
I
pressed
wear anything
flowers
else?
cardigan.
Now I've been wearing my pressed flowers for quite a while, and I'm like, I think I'm making more for various reasons. First of all, it's an amazing sweater to wear. It feels so good.
The fit for you.
The fit is perfect. It's just kind of it's perfectly slouchy. It's all of that. But the second piece of it is that it is a perfect pattern, in my opinion, for the hand spun stuff that we're doing, the fractal spinning, because it gives a large amount of, like, you're doing it the entire way along. So you really get to appreciate all the different color changes.
Yeah.
If you don't have enough of a color work section, you're not going to be able to actually catch that. I think the sheep camp is also one that's a very large section, like a large amount that you can see the
palette
differences.
to play. Like you have a lot of space to play with color.
Yeah. So I think I'm making more of them, and I'm making that as well. Yes, I am.
Yeah. So now I feel complete.
I feel complete too.
Complete also.
We have so much, people. Like we have so much we could still talk about. We haven't even talked about spinning. We have a million things sitting here
much
that we
on
could.
the table.
But it's enough. I think it's perfect.
I feel complete.
Yeah.
I think this is a neutral. This has entered into my neutral. Like
See,
I do think that this is a color that I now think is in my wheelhouse.
You know what's really funny? I don't know that I can think of anything that would not be a neutral in some level. Like, because fluorescents can be neutrals.
Yeah.
You know, so what is a neutral at the end of the day then?
Yeah, what is a neutral, guys?
I don't know.
What makes a neutral a neutral?
Yeah. Tell us.
Tell us.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Thank you for being you and being authentic, you know, with us and sharing your thoughts and taking the time to talk to us. One thing I will say is that when I'm watching podcasts, I often you know, I'm spinning or I'm knitting. So I watch it and I want to comment, but I am like, but I don't, I don't want to put my stuff down. I'm in my flow. So I know, like, a lot of times I won't even comment. And then I'm like, but wait a second, like, I love the comment. Like, that is what fills us up. So the fact that you guys take that time to comment, I just want to really say thank you. And as Jackie said, like, we read everyone. I try to respond to everyone, but then I sometimes forget to get. I will respond to it, just might take weeks. But yeah, just thank you. And thank you for telling us things that, you know, like, it's like we're friends, like we're friends, you know, you're going to actually tell. It's not easy to tell somebody that makes you look sick. I'm sure, but I appreciate it very much. And
that's a good friend. A good friend is going to tell you something that's real. Yeah. And you have the foundation of like trust and safety in the relationship that like you can do that. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And it's received. Like I received it well.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're like, if you hate everything that I wear, like, and you keep telling me that all the time, that might.
And you guys also said it in such a kind way.
Exactly. It was lovely.
I was reflecting on like the comments, which Carmen does so beautifully and I don't contribute to. But it's like I'm having conversations with you guys in my head all of the time.
Yeah.
And it's a thing that I struggle with in terms of like commenting on things, which is like wanting to respond back to you with the level of like intentional presence that it inspires. And I think it really takes time, you know?
It does. And I still, even in my responses, they're not as much as I want to say. I could go on and on. I want to basically have a conversation with all of you.
Yeah, basically. But there's, you know,
that's not an option,
only so much time in the world. So we appreciate you so much. We hope that this offered you some inspiration. Please let us know in the comments, like, not only, you know, responses, it's not just responses to like questions that that we ask. Like we also want to know what like you're knitting and like what's giving you joy. And
let us know if you like this format too. Like,
you
know, being in the kitchen.
At the kitchen. And you know what I want to know? I want to know what's your spring palette?
Ooh.
Like what colors
I like that too.
do you land in spring? And I realize that some of you, like Alex, are not, and Kelly, and a whole bunch of people whose names I'm not going to remember, so I'm going to stop listing names.
Right.
But
in winter.
They're in winter and going into
fall, I guess.
They're in summer going into fall. But what's your spring palette?
There's summer going into fall.
Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
Sorry, Carmen was just gone there for a second, trying to make my brain work. That's right.
What colors, like, hang on, let me ask the question differently. Not like what colors remind you of spring, but when spring lands in your world, do you find that you change in like what you're drawn to, what you want to be working with at the level of color? So I'd love to have a color conversation in the comments to sort of hear not what reminds you of spring, but what do you feel drawn to in the spring if your palette changes, and maybe it doesn't, and I want to hear about that too. So
and I'm going to throw one more thing too, because I think I've moved, and I think other people have had that feeling of like, I used to make really just sweaters, like I wanted just sweaters, and now, as you can see, I want wool all the time, all of me, and I don't want to wear a sweater in the summer, like a full up big sweater in the summer, obviously. So I'm always looking for like spring and summer knits. And so like, if you have any suggestions that you just love and things that you've like tried, like for me, I would, if somebody asked me that question, I would say the Transcend sweater is the perfect spring. It's made out of Suri. I've talked about it before. Next time I'll wear it. But it's the perfect sweater. And now my Mohair linen, like Lento, like what's the name of that thing? And then it was like, yes, brain, there it is. Lento is another one. I was wearing it yesterday. I'm like, perfect. So that, you know, that kind of thing. It doesn't have to be t-shirt, could be kind of one of these like throw over things, but that you would wear when it's warm out, but it gets a little cold.
And tell us something that you've actually knit. Like tell us a pattern that like you knit and you love and you wear, and like why you love it, and why you wear it. Because I feel like I can go on Ravelry and I can look at all the gorgeous patterns, and there will forever be more things that I can look at than I can knit. But we want your stories. Yes, we want your stories. Why do you love it? How did you knit it? What did you knit it in? And then y'all read the comments. Read the comments. You know, DM somebody in the comments maybe. if you're like, I also knit that, or like they made a comment that you're like, yes, me too.
Yes. You never know who your
you never know.
friend
Maybe
will
DM someone.
be. You just never know.
Yeah.
And we have like the most amazing communities, so
We
like you
do.
can't go wrong with
You find somebody
any
in the
of these
comments.
people. They're so lovely.
There is a bar of quality in our comments,
That's true.
except for all the spammers.
Oh
that
yeah,
we're
I'm trying to get rid of those. There's always one or two that pop up right after we post, and it's like, all right.
No, I would not like a giveaway from bleh.
Yeah, or the one, somebody kept saying, well, I don't know if this was a scammer because we never knew, but like, would you like to knit a red, wasn't it a red cabled sweater? Actually.
This moment where
I
Carmen
did.
realizes that she knit the sweater. She was inspired by maybe a bot in the
If
comments.
you weren't a bot and you're watching this, yes, I would be interested in knitting a red turtleneck, I think, cable sweater. I think it was something like that.
The subconscious is a fascinating entity that maybe one day we'll talk about. Okay.
All right, I'm going to release my children from the basement now.
I have
We'll
to
stop
go
the
work.
video. You have to work.
I have to go to work.
I have to go golf. Pardon me. It's a tough life.
I love my job. It's all good.
I know, it's so true.
Okay.
Thank you. We love you.
We love you.
And we'll see you in a few weeks, however long.
June. We'll see you in June.
June. Oh,
A
okay.
few weeks. You're going away.
For the first 2 weeks. Are you going away after this?
I have nothing to show. We'll see you when we see you.
Did you hear this? I have nothing to show. Yeah, I know. I've heard this. Talk to you soon.